Chronicles of the Stellar Mecha War. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 451, Burning Incense and Praying for Good Luck. Gao Sanjing Temple stands in the city center and is also one of the famous attractions. Unlike other temples with blue bricks and red tiles, it is covered with gold. The golden pillars and golden tiles look golden and magnificent from a distance. A few years ago, when Lin Fan was still working hard in Gao, he would stroll around on weekends. Naturally, he would not miss such a landmark as Sanjing Temple. But when he asked, the ticket was very expensive. Lin Fan himself did not believe in Buddhism and felt that it was not cost effective to spend money to go in and see the house and sculptures, so he stopped at the door. Nowadays, the wealthy Lin Fu doesn't care about this little money. Not only did she pay for John Woo's ticket, she also bought the most expensive incense in the incense shop. If you only worship without burning incense, this process is incomplete. The mobile phone scanned the code in one go, and the people who asked for incense next to her were shocked by her generosity and silently guessed which rich second generation she was. The 5-digit price tag of Xiangxiang is indeed worthy of its name. There were 3 extremely long and thick golden yellow incense sticks. They were more than 9 meters long and as thick as John Woo's arm. The monk in the incense shop took them out of a plastic bag in the corner. Unlike other varieties, they were placed on the counter and displayed vertically against the wall. Because this one was too long, it could only be placed horizontally on the ground. The monk in the incense shop happily wiped the dust off the top and bottom of the incense sticks with a towel. What a rip-off. It doesn't happen every day. I don't know what kind of paint was used on the outer layer of the incense. The gold color was also shiny. There were also words written on each stick of incense with red glitter paint. When the sun shone on it, it was shining brightly. In short, it was very suitable for the luxurious style of the quiet temple. Lin Fan refused the monk's help. She looked up, and John Woo was holding her tail from behind. Don't say it, the 5-digit incense is quite heavy. John Woo didn't feel any pressure, but for Lin Fan, it was really a bit strenuous. The onlookers wanted to help, but thinking about the wonderful price, they were afraid that, if something happened to them, they would have to pay money, so they wanted to stand far away. The monks in the incense shop looked at the victim. No, the kind-hearted female donor was a little unstable, swaying left and right for a long time and still couldn't get out. In addition, the incense was indeed too long, and it was indeed a bit troublesome to lie in the incense shop and not go out, so they quickly called for help. After a while, 5 or 6 master chefs came. Lin Fan didn't refuse at this time, and everyone worked together to carry the incense out. When he got outside, the sky was finally white and the earth was white. Lin Fan was sweating and began to regret whether he bought it too big. But he had walked 99 steps and was just about to put the incense in, so he had to finish it anyway. He wiped the sweat from his palms and changed his posture to continue holding the head of the incense. It was still heavy, but she didn't have to move around in the cramped space, so she could still bear it. The masters in the temple were very good, escorting all the way and guiding the female donor to the incense place. The incense lovers and tourists in the temple had never seen such a big incense, and they all gathered around to watch the fun. Oh my god, so many people. Lin Fan felt embarrassed. But seeing that the masters had already thoughtfully held the brazier in their hands and put it on top of her incense. Forget it. Shameless people are invincible. Seeing the golden incense skin being smoked black by the fire, the lingering fragrance emanated from the heated area. Lin Fan took a deep breath. Isn't this the smell of sandalwood? It seems that this thing is just a large sandalwood. Don't want it. Money is a bastard. It's not annoying to spend it. It's hard to light the incense, but it's also troublesome to insert it. The iron incense burner with classical characteristics in the square can't hold such a large incense. The masters moved quickly and dragged the wooden frame that was originally placed next to it, which looked like a flagpole frame, to the back of the incense burner, facing the center of the main hall. They also moved several stone slabs to press down the 4 sides. It was originally prepared for this kind of super long incense stick, but it is usually placed on the side, which looks beautiful and does not hinder the sight. But this female donor was so generous. My junior brother said that she didn't even blink when she scanned the code. Well, it was mainly because this female donor was so pious that it would be too disappointing if she didn't put her incense in the middle. I heard from the junior brother guarding the door that they had just entered the door. With the help of the enthusiastic masters, Lin Fan inserted 3 giant incense sticks and breathed a sigh of relief. It's really a waste of money to suffer, really. It's mid-July, and summer has already arrived. After all this trouble, Lin Fan's clothes were soaked with sweat. The master chef considerately handed over 2 bottles of water, chanted a Buddhist name, and said that it was free. Lin Fan was instantly moved. It really is the demeanor of a monk. Lin Fan immediately opened it and drank a few sips and immediately felt refreshed. Wu Yusen also unscrewed the bottle cap and poured water tons. Although he was strong, he was very hot after all this busy work. Looking at the silly girl who was stubborn again, he sighed helplessly in his heart. You spent tens of thousands of yuan as soon as you entered the door. It is not too much for the host to accompany you throughout the tour. 2 bottles of water cost less than 4 yuan, and I was so moved. I thought they wanted to accompany me throughout the whole trip. I was worried that I would feel uncomfortable just now, but I didn't know how to refuse. Lin Fan looked at the chefs who dispersed, relieved and a little awkward. It's easy to say that you should be calm, but it's not easy to really do that. Oh, it's not that you don't know it at all. Wu Yusen nodded in his heart, and he said that this girl is not so ignorant of worldly affairs. Then, Lin Fan started to wander around. From the main hall to the side hall, when she saw a bodhisattva, she knelt down to worship regardless of whether she knew him or not. When she saw a money box, she scanned the code to donate money regardless of what bodhisattva it was. Wu Yusen stood aside and watched Lin Fan scatter money, and the corners of his mouth twitched. People who didn't know, looking at this posture, would think she was a devout Buddhist. Just now in the car, Lin Fan told him why she came to worship. It was bad luck, but in fact, most of it was due to his previous punishment. Wu Yusen didn't feel guilty. He smiled gently and accompanied people to worship, showing his considerateness to the extreme. Lin Fan didn't know how much money to donate, so she just put it in round numbers, 100 per money box. It doesn't seem like much, but there are hundreds of bodhisattvas in a temple. If you really want to worship them all, it will cost much more than Xiangxiang. Wu Yusen saw that she kept scanning the code to pay, and her hands were tired of clicking, so she asked her to find a master chef to donate in round numbers. It would save her from clicking so many times, and he was tired watching from the side. How can that be? If I don't give it to them one by one, what if those bodhisattvas don't accept my kindness? Wouldn't it be a waste? Lin Fan refused with a righteous tone. Why do you think I want to donate money? She gestured to Wu Yusen with a smug look on her face, to look at the people coming and going to worship Buddha. With so many people praying every day, the bodhisattvas can't handle it all. Giving some incense oil at least gives me a chance to let the bodhisattvas see me. Maybe one of them will be in a good mood and satisfy me. Wu Yusen wanted to say that it would be difficult for the bodhisattvas to see you, even if you gave him 100 yuan in incense oil. But it was not easy to break the silly boy's dream directly, so he just said, then take a look. Is the recipient of the quarter code the same? Lin Fan was stunned, clicked on the details and saw. Let's go find the master chef. Considering that some bodhisattvas gave and some did not, it is not the lack of money that is worrying, but the uneven distribution. Lin Fan gave more incense oil. She specifically told the master chef that there was no place that had not been prayed. It should be distributed evenly and reasonably to ensure that each bodhisattva got the same amount of incense oil. The master chef kindly replied. He asked Lin Fan if he wanted to donate another merit gold brick, and he could be the main person to give a 10% discount. Lin Fan thought about his name being engraved on the brick and decisively refused. Ignoring the master chef's reluctant look, he ran out. After coming out, she worshipped the bodhisattvas that she had not had time to worship just now one by one, and Lin Fan finally left the Anjing temple with satisfaction. The gatekeeper looked at her as if she were his own child and sent her to the steps of the gate. Looking back, the giant incense was still burning. It could be seen from afar across the temple wall. Lin Fan felt that she had done something particularly meaningful today, and she was jumping and skipping with joy as she walked. I have worshipped hundreds of bodhisattvas and given enough incense oil. There must be one that is useful, right? She sat happily in the passenger seat and shared her joy with Wu Yusen. Wu Yusen still smiled gently. In fact, there is a saying in the Special Affairs Office recently. What? Lin Fan was in high spirits when she heard Wu Yusen was going to tell a story again. After the incident of the ugly woman, someone specifically deduced the mythological story. Wu Yusen said slowly, if they think that ancient gods like Nu are aliens, it is very likely that the gods in the heaven are also aliens. Lin Fan was stunned and saw him turn around with a gentle and scary smile. So it's possible that the gods won't even receive your prayers today. The car started slowly, and within a few seconds, angry shouts came from the car window. John Woo, you bad guy. John Woo, this bad guy, ha ha ha. Happy May Day, have you all worked? Or are you still crowded in the scenic area? How are you having fun there? Tell me who is typing at home, so that I can also travel in my mind. I want to go to Zibo for barbecue, but I don't have the conditions. When I finish, I want to go to Zibo for a big meal. Ha 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 ha. Last night, another treasure gave me a reward, and this time there is a name. I didn't mean to reward him, but I thought that, if there is no name, it would not be good if I couldn't write the name of this treasure in the summary at the end of the month, so I mentioned it at the end of the chapter. But thank you all Mua. Chapter 452 Who can resist a cute cat? Lin Fan decided to ignore Wu Yusen. What's the difference between his behavior and those guys who tell children there is no Santa Claus? She is an atheist. How could she not know there are no gods or bodhisattvas in heaven? But Wu Yusen broke the hope in her heart. Hope. Break off relations. Don't talk to him for at least a week. Back at the Special Affairs Office, Lin Fan ran away angrily as soon as she got out of the car, without even waiting for Wu Yusen. Wu Yusen chuckled as he looked at her back, and suddenly thought that it was quite interesting to tease her from time to time. But it's better to stop at the right time, in case she gets mad, and he can't beat her. Lin Fan ran back to the office, and her anger was still not dissipated. She wanted to take her weapons to the practice room to swing them and vent her anger, but she looked around and didn't see them. Then she remembered that her two swords were still behind the boundary monument of Zioyao Mountain. After being beaten by the senior brother until the morning, she didn't want to go to the office again, so she put them behind the boundary marker just to deliver the weapons. Anyway, she wasn't afraid of losing them, and she could get them when she came back. As a result, Wu Yusen was so angry that she didn't think about it for a while. By the way, why did Wu Yusen become like this? Is his punishment not over yet? When will it end? Lin Fan was confused and missed the old Wu Yusen. When she walked to Zioyao Realm with the momentum of stomping through the floor and took back her weapons, her anger had almost subsided. Forget it, a week is too long. 3 days will do. Don't talk to Wu Yusen for 3 days. Humph. Now that she has arrived at Zioyao Mountain, she can't help but think of the fierce fight in the morning. She pulled out the sword and took a look. Sure enough, there were many more notches on the blade. The senior brother was really ruthless and didn't show any mercy to women. Missing the time when I first met him. Hey, why do you always miss him? Is she old? Thinking of herself, she is already 38 years old and will soon enter menopause. Reminiscing about the past, it seems normal. Lin Fan shook her head and went to the equipment refining department to find Quan Yingdang. She got these two swords from Quan Yingdang. Now she needs to repair them. She has to find him. I don't know if it was lunchtime, but she didn't see anyone along the way when she came in from the main door of the equipment refining department. This was not the first time Lin Fan came here, and she found Quan Yingdang's office with familiarity. It was still as messy as ever. He said that he had just taken office and didn't have time to clean up. Now 3 years have passed and it still hasn't been cleaned up. Lin Fan sent a message to Quan Yingdang and wanted to sit on the sofa to wait for him. As a result, when she moved the sundries on the sofa to the side and made room to sit down, she found that the round object next to her, which she thought was a black wool hat, had a pair of yellow eyes. Lin Fan was startled, and the long sword in her hand fell to the ground with a clang. She put one hand on her chest and tried her best to move to the side. Take a closer look. Hey, it's a cat. Lin Fan breathed a sigh of relief, still in shock. Come to think of it, what strange things could there be in the Special Affairs office? Well, it seems there are quite a few. Anyway, what's so scary about cats? As the little life that she came into contact with the most during her illness, Lin Fan's attitude towards cats and dogs is extraordinary. Counting it, she hasn't come into contact with these little animals for a long time because she was afraid of worrying about them. But now it's delivered to her door. It would be a waste not to pet them. Lin Fan picked up the weapon on the ground and put it back on her lap, watching the black cat staring at her with its yellow eyes, as if it was not afraid of people at all, showing what she thought was the most friendly smile. Meow meow, are you Kuan Yin Dong's meow? Why haven't I seen you before? The black cat ignored her and curled up on the sundries next to her with a proud face. Although it was only as tall as Lin Fan's waist, it also had an arrogant attitude. Lin Fan knew that cats were like this. Unlike their loved dogs, they always had contempt in their eyes, as if they were the king of the world. This black cat is a pure rural cat. Its hair is not long, but it is glossy and reflects reddish light like satin. Its eyes are yellow and bright, like two round light bulbs. Its ears are erected high, its front paws are curled under its chest, and its tail is also coiled beside its body. Its face is not as round as those foreign breeds, but it is well proportioned, like a miniature black panther, with big yellow eyes. It is very imposing. As a person who loves small animals, Lin Fan doesn't care what breed it is. To her, they are all the same. She tentatively stretched out her hand, and seeing that the black cat just rolled its eyes without more resistance, she became bolder. Can I touch you? The black cat still looked arrogant and ignored her. Then I'll take it as your consent, Lin Fan said to himself, and quickly put his hand on the top of the black cat's head and rubbed it with appropriate strength. The black cat's eyes widened for a moment and then gradually narrowed again. Cats like the same amount of force, and Lin Fan has plenty of experience in petting cats. From the forehead to the neck, the black cat began to hum with comfort, and its tail was lifted up and flicked. Lin Fan knew that it was very satisfied with his service. The remaining anger towards John Woo was also released in the process of petting the cat. As expected, small animals are the best way to heal a soul. On the other side, John Woo, who Lin Fan had been thinking about, walked into the Special Affairs office leisurely. There was no problem in investigating Antonio's whereabouts last night, at least not on the surface. In addition, he was only staying for a short time this time, and he had already arrived in Zhugang, so there seemed to be nothing wrong. But there was one thing that made him a little concerned. Antonio's ticket was booked yesterday, after he hung up the phone. Maybe it was because he had always looked at it with a tinted eye, and he always felt that Antonio's reappearance was a bit strange. But special agents like them not only have to be proficient in their work, but usually their subconscious feelings are also very accurate. Although he couldn't find any fault with him, Wu Yusen still felt that this person, Wang Fengfeng, asked him with a smile if he was jealous. After he gave him a good stretching service, he dared not say anything. Jealous? Wu Yusen shook his head. He believed more in his professionalism. Antonio must be a person with problems. He strode to the information department and wanted to retrieve Antonio's movements in Zhugang, but he saw Wang Fengfeng chatting with others with a beaming face. Wu Yusen cleared his throat, and a group of people sat in wheelchairs and scattered smoothly. Fishing is fishing, but in front of other departments, you have to restrain yourself. Brother. Wang Fengfeng rubbed his still sore shoulders and smiled flatteringly. I knew you would come. I checked everything for you. As for Lin Fan, she was happily petting the cat when she heard footsteps outside and rushed in. After receiving Lin Fan's message, Kuan Yin Dong rushed back after finishing his work. Seeing Lin Fan sitting on the sofa, before she could feel embarrassed about the mess in the room, she saw a little black cat lying next to her, and Lin Fan's hand was stroking it again and again. The black cat seemed to enjoy it, but Kuan Yin Dan felt like he was about to kneel down. With a trembling voice and dry splits, he shouted, "Master Kaiensu." Master Kaiensu finally appeared. It was a little black cat. You didn't expect it. Ha 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 ha. I'm awesome. This inspiration came from a cat named Kaiensu. I just watched its video, and it went to the cat planet. Sad. I hope all the little animals can be happy and live long, and continue to be happy when they go to their own planets. So I arranged a big monster here. Everyone should be kind to the little animals around them. Maybe it is a 1,000-year-old monster. Hehe. That's another story. Chapter 453, 1,000 years old. Lin Fan's hand on the black cat's neck just froze, not knowing whether to continue. Master Kaiensu, the legendary 1,000-year-old monster? She turned her neck stiffly, watching the little black cat, which was so comfortable that its eyes were closed, slowly open its eyes. Don't say it. It really looks like that. Ha. Haha. Lin Fan smiled awkwardly, slowly raised her hand, and stood up from the sofa again. Knowing that it was Master Kaiensu, she still did it on its head. She didn't have the courage. For a moment, she seemed to feel a flash of disappointment in Huang Cheng's eyes, but before she could think about it, she quickly retreated to Kuan Yin Dong's side. In a hurry, she forgot the sword on her legs. With a clang, the two swords were smashed to the ground again, and Lin Fan tripped. Fortunately, before Kuan Yin Dong reached out to help, she stood up by herself and quickly grabbed the porta swords that fell twice in a row. When she didn't know, she thought it was cute and said a lot of random words. Now that I know that it is the famous Master Kaiensu, I don't know what to say. Or, apologize first. Yes. Before Lin Fan finished speaking, Master Kaiensu propped up his front legs and sat up. I don't know if it was because of the preconceived impression, but the little black cat was so cute before, but now it looks so majestic. Cute. Go away, don't touch it at all. Lin Fan. Master Kaiensu's voice is neither as cold as that of old Kaien, nor as strong and full of energy as that of the eldest brother. To be honest, it sounds a bit like a teenager. Not necessarily a teenager, there is a feeling of being androgynous. Hearing that he was called, Lin Fan hurriedly responded, "Yes, I know you." Master Kaiensu flicked his tail, raised a front paw, put it to his mouth, and licked it wantonly. How should I answer? Lin Fan's mind turned quickly. Thank you for your attention? Or a few humble words? You, not bad. Master Kaiensu put down his paw gracefully and said to Lin Fan, "Thank you." This time Lin Fan finally knew how to answer, and he was a little happy. The 1,000-year-old master jumped lightly and landed on the ground without a sound and walked out from the feet of the two people with cat steps. Lin Fan did not dare to breathe and watched the 1,000-year-old master leave with Kuan Yin Dong beside him. They both breathed a sigh of relief until he disappeared. How could you? How could it? They both spoke at the same time and then stopped at the same time and then smiled at each other. You go first. You go first. Kuan Yin Dong rubbed his face. Forget it, I'll say it. He took the two-handed sword from Lin Fan's hand, pulled it out, and looked at it in front of the light. Why is it so damaged? Although the materials used to refine Lin Fan's weapon were not as good as the stars, they were also very strong. In addition, with their special techniques for refining weapons, it should be impossible to make so many holes. I was dragged by the senior brother to be hammered at night. Lin Fan had nothing to be embarrassed about. It was a well-known fact that the senior brother's skills crushed her. Really? Kuan Yin Dong looked at Lin Fan and said in surprise, senior brother didn't hit so hard before. They had used this pair of swords in previous sparring, and it wasn't the first time, but there had never been so many gaps. Something happened. Did you offend senior brother? Not really. Lin Fan scratched his head embarrassedly. It was just that I was talking nonsense and senior brother heard it. Oh. What did you say? Kuan Yin Dong put the sword back into the scabbard and asked curiously. Lin Fan had no choice but to repeat it. Kuan Yin Dong looked strange after hearing it. He glanced at Lin Fan. In theory, what she said was not wrong. Except for senior brother, no one could draw a sword faster than Lin Fan. But she obviously underestimated senior brother's self-esteem as a man. To say that he didn't do it on purpose. Kuan Yin Dong looked at the two swords in his hand that were full of gaps, and he didn't believe it at all. But Lin Fan felt that this was the fact, and he had no right to correct it. I've been busy lately. If you're not in a hurry, I'll fix it for you in a week, okay? Okay, I'm not in a hurry. Lin Fan nodded. As long as she didn't go on a mission and didn't meet the senior brother, she wouldn't need the weapon. Okay. After finishing the business, Kuan Yin Dong wanted to put the sword aside, but when he saw the mess in the office, he suddenly felt embarrassed. Let's go directly to the refinery room. There's more space over there. He took the lead and walked out of the office. Lin Fan looked at the nearly 30 square meter office, which was piled with miscellaneous things and had no place to step. He raised his eyebrows and said nothing. The refinery room is actually an area with many rooms. Kuan Yin Dong led people into his exclusive refinery room. Lin Fan thought it would be as messy as his office, but it was unexpectedly neat. All the materials were neatly placed on the shelves by the wall in different categories. Even someone with obsessive compulsive disorder couldn't find any fault with it. Is this Kuan Yin Dong's refinery room? Why is it so different from the office? Like the noise made by two people. Kuan Yin Dong had already put away his sword and sat at the table to make gong fu tea. Isn't it less messy than the office? Although he thought so in his heart, he couldn't say it out loud. Lin Fan smiled. It's too neat here. Kuan Yin Dong was busy boiling water and washing tea sets, and his hands were busy. Actually, I don't go to that office very often. I spend most of my time here. After setting the water switch, he looked up at Lin Fan. You can also come here if you want to find me in the future. Okay. Lin Fan nodded in agreement. My office. Kuan Yin Dong took the initiative to explain. Because I don't go there often, my men just put whatever materials or things they find in there. When I was done, I went through here and found that it was already a mess. Kuan Yin Dong laughed. I can't stand it with my personality. But I don't want to spend energy on meaningless cleaning, so I go even less, and it's a vicious cycle. I see. Lin Fan said that Kuan Yin Dong looked unkempt, but not to the point of being sloppy. How come his office is so messy? We often can't stop refining weapons, and it's common for us not to rest for several days in a row. Kuan Yin Dong said again, so everyone always thinks we are a little careless. Ha 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 ha. Actually, I still like cleanliness. Lin Fan looked at the furnishings in this room and believed his words without hesitation. Her own office was not as tidy as Kuan Yin Dong's. Compared with the two, she was the sloppier one. By the way, what's the matter with that 1,000-year-old master? Lin Fan finally spoke first. When I entered your office today, I didn't notice it at first, but then I thought it was your cat. Seeing that it was not afraid of people, I stroked it. Lin Fan frowned in fear. Will I displease Master Kaian-su? Should I go and apologize to him? She had heard John Woo mention Master Kaian-su several times, but who would have thought that it was actually a cat? And a little black cat that would purr comfortably when stroked. Lin Fan suddenly remembered John Woo's theory that bodhisattvas are actually aliens. It turned out that I had worshipped them in vain today. Kuan Yin Dong is actually not sloppy. Haha, I fooled him again. There should be no characters that have not been written, right? Now there is a problem. There is one less supporting role. The original setting should have another supporting role who was supposed to board the spacecraft together, but I can't think of it at the moment. If I still can't think of it by then, just forget about it. Imperfection is also a kind of beauty. Chapter 454, Black Cat. I thought you knew the 1,000 years old master. Kuan Yin Dong picked up the boiling kettle and started to make tea. After all, when you found Yanjing, I remember I seemed to tell you on the phone. At the beginning of the year, when Lin Fan had not yet returned to the Special Affairs office, she helped Zhu Ping with a search and rescue mission on the road. It was also during that mission that she accidentally discovered Yanjing and held her hand for a short period of time. It was also because of this reason that it suddenly became smaller during the Chinese New Year, leading to a series of ridiculous confusions later. Lin Fan smiled silently. I know the 1,000 years old master, but I didn't know it was a little black cat. People who know will not take the initiative to talk about it, and people who don't know will not think of asking. In this way, the horror scene of Minister Lin boldly strokes the cat and hits the 1,000-years-old master on the head was created by mistake. Quan Yin Dong also shook his head and chuckled. This is really a big misunderstanding. Lin Fan took the teacup he handed over with both hands and placed it in front of him. The name of Master Kaiensu is so majestic and powerful. Who could have thought? Who could have thought? A great demon that lived for several years. Its prototype should be a lion, a tiger, or even a leopard. How could it be a kitten? It's like putting up a sign outside the door saying evil dog inside, and then after doing enough homework and pushing the door open with all kinds of caution, you find a teacup dog that's not even the size of a palm. Let's not talk about whether it's evil or not. The sense of disappointment is really hard to describe. Have you heard of the saying that black cats ward off evil spirits? Kyung Dan could understand Lin Fan's psychology very well. When he first knew that it was Master Kaiensu, he was stunned for a long time. I've heard of it. Lin Fan nodded, but some people say that black cats attract evil spirits. I don't know which one is true and which one is false. In ancient times, cats with a completely black body were also called black cats, named because of their reddish hair, but pure black cats are actually rare. Quan Yin Dong took a sip. Throughout the ages, people have always believed that cats can communicate with spirits, and black cats are the worst. Although Lin Fan loves these small animals, he has never really studied them, so he listened very carefully. The ancients believed that black cats can drive away evil spirits, ward off evil spirits, and suppress evil spirits. Because their tails are curled, similar to those of Killin, they are also known as Killin tails. In fact, if the tails of these round-haired animals are curled and coiled, they can all be called Killin tails. Quan Yin Dong is the head of the weapon refining team. Due to work needs, he has read a lot of these ancient legends. As he was talking, he unconsciously went off topic. Fortunately, he discovered it in time and turned the topic back. Many ancient feng shui books have recorded the effects of black cats. It is said that yellow eyes can ward off evil spirits, green eyes can attract wealth, and the saying that evil spirits cannot enter the Killin tail is widely circulated among all classes. So, most ancient people used black cats to protect their homes. As long as there is a black cat in the house, it will be kept at the south-facing door. In this way, as long as the cat is there, it can always protect the family's descendants. Yeah, Lin Fan nodded. I've heard the story of a black cat guarding the soul. It is said that the old lady died a long time ago, and because the black cat was guarding the house, the black and white impermanents could not enter the house to arrest the soul, so the old lady didn't know she was dead. Is it true? I don't know about this. But if it is a black cat like Master Kaiensu, there is no doubt about it. Quan Yin Dong never missed any opportunity to praise his superiors. Next, he told Lin Fan about the legends of black cats in various countries. In ancient Egypt, it is a god that can drive away the dead and control life and death. In Central Europe, they believed that black cats were the souls of witches and were defined as the embodiment of evil. In the witch elimination operation, they encountered unprecedented disasters. Later, when the Black Death broke out, black cats were considered the source of the spread of the Black Death. They became messengers of hell and completely transformed into evil. But wasn't the Black Death spread by rats? Lin Fan dug up this vague history from his few memories. Yes, in fact, it was because a large number of cats were killed in the hunting operation that the plague spread, but cats were inexplicably blamed. Kyung Dan curled his lips and poured Lin Fan another glass. So in this world, every drink and every bite has cause and effect. He then went on to tell some interesting stories about black cats in other countries, some of which bring wealth, some bring misfortune, some bring peach blossoms, and some are the gods of death, and people want them as soon as they appear. Lin Fan listened with relish. So, the same species, because of the culture and customs of different places, represents different meanings. This is idealism, right? Lin Fan concluded. All black cats are the same, only people are different. I tell you this just to say that the legend of black cats has a long history and is widely spread all over the world, and many of them have a high status. On the contrary, there are not many legends about those beasts that look mighty and domineering. Even if there are, the ending is not very good. I know. Lin Fan smiled and raised his hand to answer. You want to tell me that for a thing, even if it is a known thing, you must not have a preconceived idea and generalize it. Kuan Yin Dong was stunned. Is that what he meant? Isn't he just telling a story? But since Lin Fan has sublimated him, he can't lower himself. With an unfathomable smile, he filled her glass again. Because the 1,000-year-old master has lived for a long time and has a wide range of knowledge, he is simply a living encyclopedia for the people in our refining group, so everyone calls him the ancestor in private. I see. Lin Fan nodded. I thought it was really your ancestor. Old monsters know a lot, and considering their age, it is not strange to call him the ancestor. But in that case, Elder Kine and Senior Brother should know a lot, right? Lin Fan thought of the other two big brothers in the institute. Yes, they are also knowledgeable. But Senior Brother, you know. Kuan Yin Dong lowered his eyelids and scratched his nose. Although he didn't want to admit it, the intimidation of Senior Brother was not something that everyone could bear. On weekdays, everyone would hide, so how could they go up to ask questions? Besides, they are not in a hurry to refine weapons now. If they encounter something they don't understand, they can just wait and wait. There is no need to go up to ask. What about Elder Kine? Elder Kine is very good. Lin Fan asked again. Elder Kine is very good, but he is an orthodox immortal cultivator who entered the tower as a human and has dabbled in all kinds of things. Cough cough. That is not as much as the ancestor who entered the tower as a demon. Kuan Yin Dong laughed. After all, when Elder Kine was meditating seriously, the ancestor was still wandering around. After so many years, this habit has not changed. So when Elder Kine always stayed in the special affairs office, the 1,000-year-old master always wandered around like a dragon and never stayed in one place for long. Besides, we are not from the same department. It is not appropriate to go to him all the time and disturb Mr. Kine's practice. Kuan Yin Dong added, of course, it is because I'm not in a hurry to identify it. If I were in a hurry, I would not have these concerns. Lin Fan nodded and asked the question he wanted to know the most. Who is more powerful, Mr. Kaiensu or Mr. Kien? Through Kuan Yin Dong's introduction to the various abilities of the Black Cat, as well as Lin Fan's own sublimated thoughts. Haha, it really is that the poor student thinks too much. Chapter 455 Who is more powerful? The ranking of Mr. Kien, Mr. Kaiensu, and the eldest brother has always been an unsolved mystery in the Special Affairs Office. It is probably because they have been in school for many years and have been poisoned by the ranking system. Anyone who knows the three of them, or two of them, can't help but want to know who is first and who is second. But after so many years, no one has ever gotten the result. On the one hand, no one dared to ask directly. Putting aside the reasons such as the difference in strength, the words were somewhat malicious, as if they were deliberately trying to provoke the big guys to fight. Otherwise, they would fail to compete with the big guys and get beaten up. On the other hand, with the ranks of the big guys, if they were to compete with real swords and guns, there would be no suitable place. It is said that these few people are able to turn the world upside down with a wave of their hands, and there is nothing they can tear down. But if they don't use their full strength and just show their intention, it's better not to compete. Another very important point is that several of them are old monsters, and they have become indifferent to these worldly things over the years. They couldn't fight for no reason, unlike these young people who are full of blood and want to compete with each other at any time. I see. Lin Fan nodded with a little disappointment. If that's the case, I'm afraid it will be difficult to tell who is better in the future. Actually, we have discussed it privately and there is an immature ranking theory. Kuan Yin Dong smiled. Oh. Lin Fan's eyes lit up, and he became interested. What do you mean? Kuan Yin Dong poured another cup of tea for Lin Fan, and then slowly said. Although these three don't meet often, they know each other. For example, my ancestor, when he mentioned Kien Leo, he would call him old guy, and when he mentioned the eldest brother, he would call him that kid. So the eldest brother should be ranked behind the former Kien Leo and the 1,000-year-old lord? Lin Fan almost didn't have to think about it. The 1,000-year-old lord, as the name suggests, should be over 1,000 years old. No one really asked how many thousands of years old he was. He called Kien Leo old guy, which was also a disguised admission that Kien Leo was older than him. Then if we rank them by age, the eldest brother must be the youngest. In fact, we can tell from the way they address the three of them. Kwan Yin Dong took a sip of tea and refilled his own. Old Khan called our ancestor Little Monster and called the eldest brother Little Friend. But the eldest brother called those two the same as us. Little Friend? Lin Fan remembered that Old Khan had also called him that way, so was this his general term for young people? Lin Fan nodded in confusion. What about strength? Is it ranked like that as well? That's hard to say. Kwan Yin Dong shook his head slowly. Old Khan is a magic cultivator, the ancestor is a demon cultivator, and the eldest brother is a sword cultivator. Their methods are different, and we don't know what realm they are in now. If their realms are the same, then the eldest brother should be stronger than the other two. Ah, isn't the eldest brother the youngest? Lin Fan asked in surprise. Your ancestor called him kid, so there should be at least a generation difference. Otherwise, he should just call him brother, and Old Khan would just become elder brother. Sword cultivator. Sword cultivator. Kwan Yin Dong pressed his index finger heavily on the table. One sword breaks all laws. Invincible in the same realm. It sounds amazing. Lin Fan agreed ignorantly. Just like when she first heard Lezing Yuan King's one sword frosts 14 states. She didn't quite understand it, but it was amazing. Kwan Yin Dong wanted to criticize Lin Fan for not having common sense. But then he thought, she is the Mecha system, which has nothing to do with them doing fantasy. It doesn't matter whether she knows this or not, as it is common sense to them. So he swallowed the criticism and continued to popularize science. So if the three of them are in the same realm, the eldest brother may be the most powerful. Wait, I remember that the eldest brother's Zioao world was opened up by Old Khan. Doesn't that prove that Old Khan is more powerful? Lin Fan suddenly asked. Not necessarily. Kwan Yin Dong shrugged. Mr. Khan is a magic cultivator, so magic is what he is good at. Moreover, he originally entered the Dao with the law of space. The world in his sleeves and the overwhelming seas are just appetizers. Our underground space was originally created by Mr. Khan using the law of space. You know? Lin Fan vaguely remembered hearing Wu Yusen say so, and nodded. So opening up a realm is also what he is good at. And the eldest brother, you should know that he is a sword fanatic who doesn't care about anything except swords. Of course, he is also proficient in martial arts related to swords. Lin Fan nodded vigorously and felt the pain in the place where he was hit by Lezing Yuan King in the morning. It's like comparing me with Leoben. Who do you think is better? Kwan Yin Dong asked. Leoben is the head of the equipment department. Ban Hei, the weird old man who is always busy and irritable. Kwan Yin Dong's refining group belongs to the equipment department, but he and Ban Hei are actually leaders of two different directions in the same department. The two sides have different strengths, but it seems that they have a bit of the same goal. If you insist on saying who is better, it seems that it is impossible to compare. The same goes for Wenji and Jin Sichin. One is a big shot in physiological medicine, the other is a big shot in psychological medicine. Who is more powerful? Lin Fan thought about it himself and roughly understood. Then none of you have asked them what realm they are in? Lin Fan was curious. Old Khan seemed to be easy to talk to, and Lord Kyansu seemed to be very kind. As for the eldest senior brother, forget it. I thought about it, but no one really dared to ask. Kwan Yin Dong replied, you know that the higher level suppresses the lower level, right? Seeing Lin Fan shaking his head, Kwan Yin Dong knew that he shouldn't ask. Simply put, people with higher realms will suppress those with lower realms. So when I saw the ancestor, I was like a mouse seeing a cat. It's no exaggeration to say that I wanted to bow down to him. It's good enough to be able to say everything and solve all the problems. Who has the energy to ask those unimportant questions? Lin Fan thought about when he met Kyansu just now. Why didn't I feel suppressed? Kwan Yin Dong choked and suddenly reacted. Yes, if you feel suppressed, then you can't jerk off. I'll give the ancestor a massage. Lin Fan nodded. If she felt something was wrong at the time, how could she dare to start? And she would have run away long ago. Then what did you feel when you met Mr. Kyan? Didn't you feel suppressed? Kwan Yin Dong asked again. Lin Fan recalled for a long time. I just thought he was very fairy, like there were stars in his eyes. No more. Kwan Yin Dong stared. No more. Lin Fan tilted his head and thought for a while, and confirmed. What about the eldest brother? You didn't feel anything either? We are afraid of him, not just because of his eyes. The eldest brother has a double buff, so he is more terrifying than the other two. Eldest brother. Lin Fan scratched his head. If he doesn't abuse me, and I don't look into his eyes, I don't have any special feelings. Quan Yin Dong leaned back on the chair behind him, and breathed a sigh of relief. He suddenly remembered the rumor that Lin Fan was immune to Jin Sichen's talent. She couldn't be anti-magic? Because the stars cause the body to mutate, so she was immune to these fantasy methods and the pressure of the big boss? No, that's not right. Before, in the Chanu cave, Lin Fan was struck half to death by lightning, proving that she is not resistant to magic. No, that time it seemed that she was struck by lightning instead. Now Xingqian is electrified. Not only can she use 100,000 volts at will, but she can also passively defend. Before ordinary attacks touch her shell, they are shattered by the arc of electricity that comes out of her. If Xingqian resists magic, then wouldn't all of them be unable to do anything to her? Think about the scene where Qian Liu and the others attacked Xingqian, but were immune to it. Quan Yin Dong seemed to see the throne of the fourth boss of the Special Affairs Office slowly rising behind Lin Fan. It's just amazing. Chapter 456 Cognitive Differences. Quan Yin Dong. Lin Fan saw the person opposite him suddenly stop talking and looked at him inexplicably, not knowing what happened. He looked back and looked around, but there was nothing. Quan Yin Dong came to his senses and smiled even more. Sorry, I was a little distracted just now. He put a new pot of water on the boil and continued. But what I just said was a situation of the three of them being in the same realm. If the realms are different, then naturally there is one realm and one level of heaven. So the final result of your discussion is only the age ranking? Lin Fan was a little disappointed. This was not the result she wanted. Look, you're anxious, aren't you? Quan Yin Dong said with a smile. You know that Mr. Qian is facing the 5 deteriorations of the heavenly man, right? Seeing Lin Fan nod, he continued. The 5 deteriorations of the heavenly man usually occur when it is difficult to improve the realm, but the lifespan is almost up. Take the progress as an example. Mr. Qian is stuck at 99%, almost able to upgrade. But if the remaining time is up, he still can't accumulate enough progress to the next level. Now in the Dharma ending age, there is not enough spiritual energy, and there are no heavenly treasures, or some earth-shattering wars that allow him to improve in the fight. Quan Yin Dong sighed. So in order to delay time, Mr. Qian can only use tortoise breathing, which is equivalent to hibernation, to delay this process. Cultivating immortals either requires resources or spiritual energy. Unfortunately, on Langsing, neither is abundant. It's okay for them, the beginners, but it's not enough for Mr. Qian and his level. Speaking of wars, I want to ask again. Lin Fan followed up his words and asked, Mr. Qian and his men are so powerful, why didn't they intervene in the previous wars? A general success is the result of the sacrifice of thousands of people, and every change of dynasty is accompanied by astonishing casualties. If the big guys could intervene, wouldn't so many people have to die? How did he intervene? Quan Yin Dong picked up the kettle and continued to make tea, and the curling white smoke rose, blocking his face. The change of dynasties is the inevitable result of history and the progress of society. Although it sounds a bit cruel, if there were no such struggles, today's society might still be a slave society. Is this what you want to see? Where there are people, there are conflicts of interest. Social systems and technological development have developed little by little in these conflicts. The wheel of history has always been like this, and no one can stop it. Moreover, most wars occur when the lower class overthrows the upper class. When the current dynasty has problems and the people are living in poverty, who should Mr. Qian help in this case? Helping the imperial power is too inhumane. Helping the people, aren't the lives of the other party human lives? But, Lin Fan said unconvinced, forget about our own people. Decades ago, when we were bullied by those devils. In fact, for those who have cultivated to their level, they have long been out of the secular world. Just like you said, immortals. They look at ordinary people's wars, just like you look at ants moving, and lions fighting for territory. Would you want to intervene? Lin Fan shook her head slowly. Nature has its own rules. You can help for a while, but not for the whole life. As she spoke, she understood it herself. Kuan Yin Dong saw that Lin Fan was wilting and poured her a new tea. Old Khan is very friendly and has done a lot for the institute, but their status is really far from us. Look at my ancestor. He just helps us to distinguish some materials and solve some doubts, and he always appears suddenly and disappears suddenly. The eldest brother is the same. He hardly comes out recently. He came out this morning and beat me up. Lin Fan silently refuted in his heart. So, King Dong smiled. Don't judge them by our standards, just because they look like humans. We are from different worlds. After Kuan Yin Dong finished speaking, he drank a sip of hot tea and kept a sentence in his mind, but didn't say it out loud. It's just like you, and we are from different worlds. Okay, let's continue. Kuan Yin Dong forced the topic back. Now, it is known that Mr. Khan is older than the ancestor. He is currently facing the 5 decades of heaven and man, and is in the tortoise breath. But my ancestor has no such troubles, and is still walking around. So, assuming that Mr. Khan and Mr. Kyansu are at the same realm, then Mr. Khan's strength should be higher than Mr. Kyansu's? Lin Fan understood the meaning of the string music, and figured out the result himself. Yes, this is still the same realm assumption. Kuan Yin Dong nodded. But according to the ancestor's arrogant personality, if Mr. Khan was just at the same realm as him, he would not call him old guy. This title is too respectful. Lin Fan was full of question marks. How is the title of old guy respectful? For my ancestor, it is already respectful. Kuan Yin Dong laughed. You don't know how arrogant he is. Anyway, combined with this point, we infer that Elder Khan should be one level higher than the ancestor. Then by the same token, we can infer that the eldest brother is at a level lower than the 1000-year-old master? Lin Fan quickly reacted. Yes, that's basically the result. Kuan Yin Dong nodded. In fact, we can guess from the age. The older one must have practiced 4 more years, so this result is also logical. In fact, in ZHU Kunjin's personnel file, there are detailed information about the 3 big guys. It's just that, because of their high level, ordinary people don't have the authority to read it. Just like Lin Fan's information, if Kuan Yin Dong was not a related person, he would never know the situation of Xingqian being electrified. Most people only know that she can transform into a mecha, has high physical defense, and can fly. These basic information. The people in the institute are just simply curious. Even if they don't have the opportunity to get the specific information, they can guess it almost right based on their own speculation. Has the 1000-year-old man always been in the form of a cat? Can't he transform into a human form? Lin Fan asked again. Isn't it said that monsters that have lived for hundreds of years can transform? He can, but he just doesn't want to. Kuan Yin Dong smiled helplessly. We are humans, so we think the human form is good. He is a cat, so he naturally thinks the cat form is good. He also said before that we humans are too ugly. We are all 2-legged beasts. How can we be as light as him, with 4 stable legs and smooth fur? According to this standard, humans are indeed ugly. Lin Fan was thoughtful. In fact, we are influenced by our own consciousness. We always think that monsters and demons must transform into humans, but from their point of view, what's good about humans? Kuan Yin Dong smiled. For example, the eagle transforms into a human form, and its beautiful feathers are gone, and its wings, that can soar thousands of miles, are gone. What does it want? Humans are just one of the creatures in the world. Only we think highly of ourselves, and think we are the spirits of all things. We haven't seen it. Yes. Humans also evolved from apes, and strictly speaking, they are just a kind of animal. Look at the gorillas and monkeys on all 4s in the zoo. Roughly speaking, they are of the same clan as them. While those people are standing outside the cage and laughing at their ugliness, maybe the gorillas and monkeys also feel sorry for these monkeys outside, who are even bald. Lin Fan felt that he understood again. Don't measure and judge things that are different from you based on your own feelings and standpoints. This is just like a frog sitting in a well. All cognition will be limited by your own knowledge. Sure enough, chatting with different people will really make you grow. Lin Fan smiled happily, and a question came to his mind again. By the way, is the 1000-year-old master a man or a woman? In fact, the name has already foreshadowed it. There are a lot of foreshadowings in this chapter, which will be used later. Now there is a problem. I'm missing a supporting role now. I want to write a space journey to the west later. Can you make it? A story of one planet after another. This is what I suddenly thought of when writing the name of the eldest brother. However, there should be one more person in the main group on the spaceship, but he is currently absent. Just like Shaseng in Tang Monk's group, no matter how little he plays, there will always be something missing without him. But it's not impossible without him. My brain is really empty, and I can't think of anything. I'm asking for help from you guys. What other characters do you think should be good? It doesn't have to be very colorful, but it must have some role or characteristics. Leave me a message. Character. It doesn't have to be a person. Character characteristics. Personality. Something simple will do. If it's suitable, I'll use it. If it's not suitable, I'll arrange it for you to be a supporting role in the unit story and the later planet adventure. How about that? Haha. Haven't you seen an author like me recruiting characters? Haha. If you have ideas, please leave me a message within 3 days. If you exceed 3 days, you can only keep it for the later planet. I'm going to start pushing the plot and prepare to fight. Except for this supporting role, the other characters who will go to space have almost been revealed. You can guess who will be in our space group this time. Except for Lin Fan, they have all appeared, but they don't have many roles. Come on, interact with me and give me some popularity. Chapter 457 How Rumors Came About. Hey Fanfan. Lin Fan was walking on the road when she heard Wang Fengfeng calling her. How are you? Are you okay this morning? Lin Fan glanced at him. Wang Fengfeng's concern was real, but when she thought about how he left her alone and ran away in the morning, she didn't want to talk to him. She turned her head and left. Hey, Fanfan, Fanfan. Wang Fengfeng hurriedly chased after him, smiling. Didn't I have to do that? Big brother. Most people would be terrified when they heard that, but I stayed with you for a while. Then I really thank you. Lin Fan rolled her eyes at him. Hey, look at what you said. Who are we? Wang Fengfeng didn't seem to hear the implication and smiled and accepted it. Lin Fan looked at his face that was smiling like a chrysanthemum and finally laughed out loud. She knew that Wang Fengfeng would only be like this in the station and in front of Big Brother. In other occasions, when meeting other people, special agents would never easily abandon their companions. There was no point for Wang Fengfeng to stay there. After all, the eldest senior brother was looking for her. She wasn't really angry, so it was just a token of his gratitude. Wang Fengfeng saw that she had regained her smile, and he extended an arm flatteringly, lowering his brows and bowing his waist. I'll help you walk. Although the corridor was not crowded, people passed by from time to time. Lin Fan didn't play along with him and waved his hand in disdain. Go away, don't try that. Just say what you want to say. Or should I say that Fanfan understands me? Wang Fengfeng stood up immediately, came over and asked. I heard that you took action against Master Qian Su. Lin Fan looked at Wang Fengfeng's eyes flashing with gossip and wondered where he got the news. He had just left Quanyingdong not long ago. How did Wang Fengfeng know? It couldn't be that Master Qian Su said it himself, right? Impossible. He is a proud cat. Wang Fengfeng saw Lin Fan was in a daze and nudged her with his elbow. Did you do it? Did you do it? I did, but... Before Lin Fan finished her words, Wang Fengfeng jumped up. You're so brave. You're so awesome. You'll be my idol from now on. Wang Fengfeng looked very happy and shouted in the corridor. Seeing that he looked like he was losing his mind, Lin Fan chose to go his own way. Hey Fanfan, wait for me. After Wang Fengfeng was happy, he found that Lin Fan had walked far away and hurriedly chased after him. Tell me, what's going on? When Lin Fan went to Quanyingdong's office to wait for him, it was dinner time. She was so angry with Wu Yusen that she didn't think about eating first. When Quanyingdong arrived, it was already past dinner time. He thought that Lin Fan was on vacation and had a regular schedule, so he should have eaten a long time ago. So he took her to drink tea directly. After chatting for an hour or so, Lin Fan drank a bellyful of water. She was not hungry, but the energy from the tea was obviously not enough, so she had to eat. Wang Fengfeng chased all the way to the cafeteria and helped her hold the tray diligently. He soon found out the truth of the fight. Although it's different from what I thought, you can stroke the 1,000-years-old master. It's really not something that ordinary people can do. Wang Fengfeng said slowly, with a complicated feeling in his heart, and he couldn't tell whether he was disappointed or surprised. He thought Lin Fan had fought with the 1,000-years-old master. Doesn't that mean that after the eldest brother, she challenged another big guy? Let's not talk about the outcome, but as Lin Fan's good friend, he must support her, right? But stroking the 1,000-years-old master's fur seems to be more incredible than the two of them fighting. Such a proud big monster. Ordinary people can't normally approach it, let alone be able to do it. As far as he knows, even if they cultivate to their level, there will be a vital point on their body. The 1,000-year-old master actually let Lin Fan play with him, and for quite a long time, which was equivalent to putting his life in Lin Fan's hands. Yeah, I was also very surprised. Lin Fan said while eating, I thought it was a kitten, but it turned out that I was teasing a tiger's whiskers. I almost fell down at that time. In fact, the psychological effect is greater than the actual feeling, but who can remain calm in such a situation? Anyway, Lin Fan can't. Lin Fan has never seen a monster, let alone such a big monster. After reacting, he didn't even have time to have curiosity to explore, and the first thing that rose in his heart was awe and fear. It has always been said that the 1,000-year-old master has a poisonous tongue, but today, it seems that he is quite easy to talk to. Wang Fengfeng stroked his chin. By the way, how does it feel? Lin Fan stopped and thought carefully. It seems to be no different from an ordinary cat. By the way, do we have any colleagues in our institute who exist in animal form? Tell me first, so as to avoid making another mistake. The 1,000-year-old master was very tolerant for not blaming her. If it were Lin Fan, and a stranger came up to touch her out of the blue, she would definitely make sure that person would never dare to touch her again in his life. Wang Fengfeng smiled. Finally, it was his time to show off. Just as he was telling Lin Fan the story, he heard a group of colleagues who came to eat supper talking as they walked, bringing new news. Hey, have you heard? Minister Lin and Lord Kaiansu had a fight. This was not too outrageous, and it was similar to what Wang Fengfeng had thought before. What? Minister Lin beat Lord Kaiansu? Lin Fan's eyebrows jumped. How did they say that? Someone asked for her. When did it happen? It was in the evening. Quan Yingdong said it himself. Seeing that an unfamiliar female colleague at the table next to him was looking at him, this person nodded to her in a friendly manner and continued to walk forward. If he hadn't arrived in time, the consequences would have been disastrous. Really? What happened at the time? Did Lord Kaiansu fight back? No, I heard that Minister Lin was holding Lord Kaiansu down and beating him, and Lord Kaiansu couldn't fight back at all. Wow, Minister Lin is so powerful? Of course he is. Minister Lin's mecha is so cool. Let me tell you. Minister Lin looked at the backs of the people walking farther and farther away, and listened to their discussion, and couldn't help but laugh and cry. These people obviously didn't know him, so how could they talk so concisely? Wang Fengfeng also tilted his head and smiled helplessly. That's outrageous. It's still possible for Lin Fan to fight Lord Kaiansu, but holding Lord Kaiansu down and beating him? Let's not talk about whether this can happen. Even if it really happened, how could there be no movement in the institute? If these two guys were to use their skills without the barrier's protection and restriction, there would only be one result in the end. What did Quan Yingdong tell you? Lin Fan was speechless. If this spreads, Master Kaiansu will be unhappy and will beat me to death, right? Being beaten by the senior brother was already miserable enough, and she didn't want to offend another giant. It's not Quan Yingdong's fault. After all, today's scene was beyond his psychological acceptance. In his excitement, he couldn't help but want to find someone to share it with. So it is said that there are no secrets in this world, let alone a special office where information is open to circulation. When people spread the news, it is inevitable that the words will change and no longer be the original. In addition, many young people are more enthusiastic about mechas, so their hearts will unconsciously lean towards Lin Fan, so it becomes what they just heard. Rumors are more fierce than tigers. Master Kaiensu is much more powerful than tigers. Lin Fan cried in her heart, picked up the phone, and called Quan Yingdang without caring what he was doing. Help, Quan Yingdang. In the game, played when I was a child, people passed the message to each other, and the words would definitely be distorted in the end. Have you ever played it? Is the May Day holiday over? Are you all at work or school? Chapter 458 Zhu Ping's new invitation. The rumor storm was quickly quelled with the timely intervention of Quan Yingdang. But people who knew the truth had a different kind of respect for Lin Fan. Winning the fight is great, but being able to make the other side submit without using a single soldier is even more powerful, isn't it? When this kind of talk came out, Lin Fan was almost scared to death. But the facts have been clarified, and she can't interfere with what others think. She can't just stop someone and explain. That would be too much trouble. Wang Fengfeng laughed at her for taking it too seriously. Such a hot topic will not be mentioned in a short time, so let her calm down. Can Lin Fan calm down? Of course not. Watching others' excitement and watching yourself in excitement are two completely different feelings. I don't know if Master Kaiensu has heard these rumors. Anyway, Lin Fan hopes he hasn't heard them. After hiding for 2 days in fear, Lin Fan got the news from Wang Fengfeng and found that Master Kaiensu did not seem to have any intention of settling accounts with her, so she finally came back with confidence. When she pushed the door of the office, Wu Yusen was sitting inside. Lin Fan suddenly remembered what made him angry before and wanted to leave. But then he changed his mind. No, this is his office. And 3 days have passed. These days, he was only thinking about the matter of the 1,000-years-old master and had long forgotten about being angry with Wu Yusen. Now that he suddenly remembered it, he couldn't find the feeling of anger anymore. But if he just went in like this, wouldn't it be too embarrassing? Wu Yusen saw Lin Fan holding the door handle in a dilemma and smiled and stood up to help him in. It was my fault last time, so don't be angry. I won't make that kind of joke in the future. Lin Fan was relieved after hearing this. You said it. Next time. No, there will definitely not be a next time. Wu Yusen bowed and smiled, helped him sit on the sofa, and handed him a bottle of drink with both hands. Queen, please forgive me. Seeing his singing and writing style, Lin Fan smiled and took the drink, deliberately picking up the accent to reply. Well, little Wu, stand up. Yes. Wu Yusen really touched his hands and knelt down to greet. When he stood up and sat on the sofa next to him, he was already smiling. He looked at Lin Fan, who was sipping the drink, and said, I heard that you beat the 1,000-year-old. Lin Fan spit out a mouthful of drink, fearing that he would say the word beat. There was no time to wipe it with paper, and hurriedly looked back. Fortunately, the office door was closed. Wu Yusen hurried to help clean up and smiled helplessly. Why are you so excited? You don't know. A senior brother has abused me thousands of times, and if there is another 1,000-year-old, even an iron body can't stand it. Lin Fan took the paper he handed over and wiped the mess on his body. It's okay. If the 1,000-year-old cares about these things, he won't let you masturbate. Wu Yusen smiled. Really? Lin Fan was still a little frightened. Yes, I asked the director. He said that demons think differently from humans. They may not care about things that we think are serious. Don't scare yourself. Hearing that the director was guaranteeing her, Lin Fan finally breathed a sigh of relief and put aside most of her worries. Actually, I've always been scared. She confided to Wu Yusen. I feel that everyone praises me too much. I know that the higher I stand, the harder I fall, so most people would be happy when they are praised, but Lin Fan only thought about worrying and feeling scared. Wu Yusen knew that this girl was too clear-headed, and of course, she also had some inferiority complex. She was obviously very capable and more courageous than anyone else, but in her heart, she was more cautious and sensitive than anyone else. This girl. Wu Yusen didn't know what to say, so he could only continue to spoil her. He used the words he learned from Jin Sichin to comfort Lin Fan. He soon comforted the silly girl. She is really easy to satisfy. Wu Yusen sighed. Just as he was sighing, he received a call from Zhu Ping. Hello. Wu Yusen answered the call. Seeing Lin Fan looking over, he did not avoid her and directly put the call on hands-free. Hello. Zuping's unruly voice sounded. Why did I receive a message saying that Lin Fan beat up the 1,000-year-old lord? Lin Fan was originally very happy to hear the voice of someone he had not seen for a long time, but this emotion disappeared in less than a few seconds. When will this topic be over? Wu Yusen saw that Lin Fan was already curled up in the sofa and did not want to refute, so he smiled and replied, "Then you are not well informed. That is the outdated first version of the news." Oh. Zuping's voice was full of laughter. I knew it was nonsense, and I didn't believe it at all, but I thought there is no smoke without fire, so I just asked you what's going on. Wu Yusen briefly explained the situation and said that Lin Fan was autistic next to him, wishing he could melt into the sofa and didn't want to see anyone. Is that so? Zuping laughed a few times and said, "Then do you want to come to my place?" Lin Fan looked up from the sofa and heard Wu Yusen ask, "What? You need support?" Xingqian had helped Zuping and his team open the door to the underground space before, but because there were many high-tech gadgets inside, they didn't dare to go in directly and retreated. Calculating the time, they should have entered now. Zuping would not call him specifically to confirm an uncertain rumor, so the result is obvious. Haha, I also want to invite Lin Fan to come and play. It's July, Gao is already hot. Come to my place to escape the heat. It's so cool. Zuping said stubbornly. Come on, if you have something to say, it's urgent. Zuping called him to talk about Lin Fan. The only possibility is the mission. After all, the missions that Lin Fan has to take now all need his approval. The space shuttle is an exception. No hurry. Zuping became serious, and also with a bit of playfulness. You can take your time. We have discovered an underground fortress, and it's still the same old problem. We can't break the door. It is obviously not appropriate to use explosives for a complete underground space. So Xingqian has to go. Wu Yusen glanced at Lin Fan and saw her eyes sparkling with an expression of "I want to go," and replied with a smile. "Okay, I know. I'll go after I make the arrangements. You submit the task." "Okay." Zuping agreed readily and wanted to hang up after a few more pleasantries. Wu Yusen suddenly mentioned, "By the way, have you received any new progress on the two people before?" Lin Fan had rescued two people in the underground cave before. One was Luan and the other was Feng Chuan. Both of them had problems, so they were still under surveillance in the later period. However, this surveillance task no longer belongs to the scope of the Special Affairs Office's tasks and has been transferred to other departments. But the results will still be reported to Zuping, the discoverer. No. Everything is normal, and no loopholes can be found for the time being. Zuping sneered. It's still hiding deep. It's a fox. It will always show its tail. Okay, that's it. See you in a few days. Wu Yusen hung up the phone neatly and took Lin Fan to start the task process. The last report writing incident reminded him that some things should be taught. Just starting from this mission, he taught her step by step how to complete a mission from beginning to end. When Lin Fan was learning from John Woo with great interest, in a dark room, a person took out a satellite phone from the secret compartment of the closet. He pressed a series of numbers skillfully, and after the call was connected, he spoke in fluent P language. "Hello, it's me. Do you still remember these two people? Have you forgotten? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 459 The Whereabouts of the Shuttle. It is indeed much cooler to go to the mountains when it is hot. There are patches of shade everywhere, and even the wind is not as hot as Gao, but it carries a special fragrance of grass and trees. Zuping heard the sound of the car and came out of the tent to greet him. He was wearing a large flowered shirt and loose beach pants, and he only needed a pair of flip-flops to go on vacation at the beach. Come on, you have worked hard all the way." Zuping handed out 2 bottles of iced sour plum soup. Wu Yusen took them together and handed them to Lin Fan, who was walking around the front of the car. Lin Fan drank half a bottle and felt very refreshed. After a short rest, Zuping began to introduce the situation of this mission to the two. In front of the computer, Lin Fan and Wu Yusen huddled their heads together to watch. What are you shooting? I can't see it clearly. Wu Yusen squinted his eyes and frowned, looking at the photo on the screen. It was a dark shadow with only a vague outline, which looked a bit like a battlement on the top of a city wall. Lin Fan has good eyesight, but he is also helpless in this situation, where light and shadow cannot be distinguished. What you see is what you get. Zuping dragged a chair and sat down beside him, with his hands on the back of the chair, and smiled. It's the same when you actually go down and see it. The characteristics of the light-absorbing material are like this. There is no change in light and dark, and all three dimensions become two-dimensional. Is it the one at the door last time? Wu Yusen still remembered the pitch black after breaking the door, as if it was going to swallow people up, which made him take new considerations. Well, it's also a new material. It not only has low reflection, but also has extremely high shielding properties. After extraction and analysis, we have also successfully synthesized it. Zuping was unhappy when he said this. It's just that the success rate is not high, and it can be regarded as a rare synthetic material. But below, it seems to be free of charge, and it is painted everywhere. Zuping has been committed to deep digging recently. He has not been back, but he also learned about the ugly woman and the world tree through the information platform. He has his own guess about the underground space he is exploring. Do you think this is the space left by Nuwa? After listening to his thoughts, Lin Fan felt that it seemed not impossible. Yes, this can explain why we are obviously digging things from thousands of years ago, but there are always some inappropriate technological products. Zuping used his fingers to comb his hair, but there is not enough evidence to support it, so it is only at the speculation stage. Speaking of which, the ugly woman seemed to have said that Nuwa left a shuttle. Lin Fan suddenly thought of it and looked at Zuping. Is it possible that it is hidden here? Zuping touched his chin. It's not impossible. Since it is called a shuttle, it must be a long and thin shape, with a function similar to parking, a tall boat for 3 or 5 people, to go back and forth, and it should not be too big. I think the area of the ruins is not small. It is no problem to hide an airplane, let alone a small shuttle. Speaking of which, hasn't Jin Sichin succeeded in getting the question? As he was talking, he suddenly turned to Jin Sichin. Wu Yusen sighed. He and the ugly woman are almost good friends, and the latest version of the ancient chronicle is almost finished. The world tree is still better, but the shuttle is a different person when the ugly woman is mentioned. Jin Sichin can only keep his hands off and continue to look for opportunities. As soon as the Special Affairs Office knew about the existence of the shuttle, it was assigned to Jin Sichin's mission. A high-tech spacecraft. If they can find it, they can take it apart and see if they can copy it. Maybe in 2 years, they can also copy one and realize the dream of flying in the universe. Even if they can't copy the whole ship, they can disassemble some bits and pieces and use them in other machines at home. Jin Sichin's 3 major tasks are: first, establish a friendly relationship with the ugly woman. Second, find out how to use the world tree and maximize the benefits as much as possible. Third, find out the traces of the shuttle. The first one is going well, the second one has made some progress, and the third one is really sensitive, so there has been no progress. Isn't he able to hypnotize? Zuping asked, rubbing his chin. I remember the report said that the ugly woman was hypnotized by him. Yes, but that was at the beginning. Wu Yusen replied, crossing his legs. Now that the ugly woman's strength has recovered a lot, Jin Sichin dare not use her talent too much. If she finds out, all the previous efforts will be wasted. Plus the shuttle thing is really the biggest thorn in the ugly woman's heart. She can still fool her with other things, but when the shuttle is mentioned, the ugly woman thinks of Kuofu, and when she thinks of Kuofu, she thinks of herself being sealed, and the world tree not working successfully. Thinking back, the ugly woman was sealed for thousands of years because of this. It is a negative emotion starter. If there is a slight tendency, the ugly woman will turn her face and refuse to recognize people. Compared with the world tree, which can still be talked about a little, the shuttle is directly a taboo. The newly established friendship cannot withstand such a test. Jin Sichin decided to hide for now and wait for an opportunity to try again in the future. Then if we find the shuttle in advance, it would be like helping Jin Sichin. Lin Fan clapped his hands. Living with the ugly woman is like living with a tiger. Although she is not a threat at present, Lin Fan has not forgotten that she almost killed the three of them easily before. Jin Sichin only has a talent for hypnosis. In front of the absolute power of the ugly woman, she is just an ant, the kind that can be crushed to death without any effort. After all, it is dangerous. If he can help him eliminate a difficult task, he only needs to communicate with the ugly woman and unlock the world tree that she is not too disgusted with, but just cares about. I think the shuttle may not be here. Wu Yusen disagreed. Why? Lin Fan asked with his head tilted, puzzled. Look, the shuttle is first of all a flying machine. Even if it is hidden, there must be an entrance and exit, right? You have been digging for so long. Have you seen anything similar? Wu Yusen asked Zuping. Zuping frowned and shook his head slowly. No. Wu Yusen shrugged and spread his hands to Lin Fan. This is my reason. If you consider the parking problem, I think some buildings on the ground are more suitable for hiding the shuttle than the space of more than 10 kilometers underground. For example, Zuping asked, do you know the 7 wonders of the world? Wu Yusen asked. Lin Fan nodded and raised his hand to answer. I know. There are the pyramids, the Great Wall. He got stuck after saying 2, and after a long time, he said another one, the Hanging Garden. Forgive Lin Fan, her knowledge is not very broad. Zuping continued with a smile. The pyramids, hanging gardens, temples, statue of Zeus, mausoleum of Mausolus, Colossus of the Sun, lighthouse of Alexandria, and terracotta warriors. There is no Great Wall. No? Why do I remember there is one? Lin Fan scratched his head and counted again with his fingers. No, not counting the Great Wall. There are only 7. Yes. There are only 7 wonders recognized by the world. But later, some people called the Great Wall, Taj Mahal, Angkor Wat, Colosseum, and arcades the 8th wonder. John Woo explained with a smile. But in fact, the 8th wonder is more of a compliment than a specific designation. I see. Lin Fan nodded. But I remember that there seem to be few of these monuments left, right? Over thousands of years, due to various reasons, most of these wonders have been destroyed, and only the terracotta warriors and the pyramids are left. The land of the terracotta warriors has been almost dug through. With so many people going there to travel every day, there should be nothing to hide. The pyramids, on the other hand, are cursed and legendary, so they are basically not open to the public. It seems that the pyramid is also suspicious. Lin Fan crossed his arms and frowned. If we don't find the shuttle this time, should we go to the pyramid? Before Wu Yusen could answer, Zuping spoke again. If you say so, I think there is a place that is also very likely. Where? Lin Fan was in high spirits and asked immediately. Wu Yusen also turned to look at him. Zuping grinned, revealing his sharp fangs. Atlantis. In the miracle part, I hid the place name. I'm afraid of that. You just need to understand it. It's gone anyway. The underground here is also a foreshadowing I buried a long time ago. Now there are 3 options. Underground, pyramid, Atlantis. You can guess according to my previous logic. Where is the shuttle hidden? Chapter 460. 3 explorations into the crypt. Atlantis, the lost ancient country, is said to be an ancient continent with a highly developed civilization. When Lin Fan was a child, she had watched several cartoons with Atlantis as the background. She was familiar with it, even more familiar than the pyramids. But isn't that a legend? She asked. Compared with the world wonders mentioned before, the Atlantis civilization is more like a dream of flowers in the mirror and moon in the water. There is no trace of its real existence. Legends can't be groundless. Zuping was obviously a supporter of Atlantis culture, and he came over with a smile. Just like Nuwa and Nfchao, aren't they also said to be characters in legends? What do you think now? Lin Fan thought about it, and it seemed to make sense. Then where is Atlantis? I heard that traces of ruins were found in a strait in the Atlantic Ocean near the West Country, but because of the sea area, we have never been able to confirm the authenticity. Zuping shrugged regretfully. If the exploration ship hadn't made a lot of noise and the area was a key surveillance area, Zuping would have taken people there long ago. There is no need to just stare at the pictures and articles sent by the devils. Okay, let's look at them one by one. Lin Fan said cheerfully. If there is nothing here, let's go to the place you mentioned. I'll sneak down when no one is around and take a look. We'll know if there is anything there. Xingqian is so fast. He can sneak down and do a quick tour, and the matter will be settled without alerting anyone. Zhu Ping smiled and clasped his hands together. Then I'll leave it to Minister Lin. If this task is really to be done, some procedures need to be followed, and it may not be achieved quickly. But Zhu Ping accepted Lin Fan's kindness. There is nothing to say. Nothing can be seen in the picture, so just go down. I thought I would have to ride a balanced car, but I didn't expect that a track car would be built this time. The appearance of the car is not beautiful. It is just a platform with fences around it and a folding bench inside. It is not very comfortable to sit on, but it is much better than standing all the time. Zhu Ping took the two people on the car and explained after starting it. There are a lot of electronic equipment needed later, so it's more convenient to use a rail car. Although this small car looks like a coal mine car, it is also very fast when it starts running, and it feels like a supercar. The previous faults that needed to be climbed down have also been expanded and built with slope tracks. Several people passed smoothly without getting off the car. Lin Fan looked at the rock walls on both sides that were rapidly retreating and felt that he was still traveling through time. Soon they arrived outside the stone gate, and the track came to an abrupt end. Zhu Ping led the two through the terrifyingly dark passage. Lin Fan didn't think it was anything special when she was in the star state, but now that she stepped in, she felt that it was indeed different. A whole piece of opaque black, because there was no sense of distance, seemed to wrap around the body. It was so heavy that her heart sank unconsciously, and it seemed that her steps became much heavier. Just go a little further. Zhu Ping often walks and is more experienced, and turned around to say to the two, this section is a little uncomfortable, but it's all psychological and has no substantial impact on the body. We have already tested it. Otherwise, this place would have been closed long ago, so how could they be allowed in? Can the psychological aspect alone have such a big impact? Lin Fan asked with a frown. Yes, psychology is also a big subject, otherwise how could Jin Sichen be so popular? Zhu Ping showed his big white teeth. You don't think he will just fake a smile to deceive the little girl, right? That's not true. Lin Fan spoke up for Jin Sichen. Jin Sichen is still capable. Back then at 800, it was Jin Sichen who quietly brought her out of the quagmire. Ah. Yes, shouldn't she know the impact of psychology on people best? Lin Fan secretly cursed himself for being stupid. So, can't the star upgrade really make me smarter? Not long after walking, I finally left the dark area and walked into a rock area. Although it was also a black rock body, under the light, the height was staggered and the distance was clear, which made people feel much more comfortable than the dark mass behind him, which looked like a black hole. The three of them breathed a sigh of relief, and under Zhu Ping's guidance, they got on the rail car again. Why wasn't there a car over there just now? Lin Fan asked. If there was a car, wouldn't it be faster to pass through? No. Zhu Ping shook his head. We can't penetrate the area covered by that material, and the track can't be fixed. And it has some kind of macromagnetic field, and the instrument will be scrapped once it is started. After burning out N motors, they finally came to the conclusion that the live instruments in this area cannot be started. So there are no lights or tracks. A group of people suppressed their emotions and dragged the things inside with a small cart and then continued the project. Fortunately, the ground is flat, otherwise they can only carry it on their shoulders. Wu Yusen patted Zhu Ping's shoulder. He knew the situation better than Lin Fan. Zhu Ping has been down there for nearly half a year, and it seems that there is no progress, but in fact he has tried his best. It's all because of the unequal technology. After the car went forward for a while, it came to a cliff. Lin Fan thought they were going to get off to change transportation, but they didn't. The car slid out directly and hung in the air. Just when Lin Fan opened his eyes wide and thought he was going to fall, he heard a few clicks, the sound of mechanical locks. Then the car slowly went down along the rock wall. Lin Fan looked around and found the vertical track on the rock wall. Obviously, the car had become an elevator car with complete functions. This passage is ready, so we made the lifting track. Zhu Ping saw Lin Fan's fresh look and explained. Multifunctional rail car, how about it? Not bad, right? Lin Fan nodded vigorously. It turned out that there are these technological products that are not particularly high-tech. She was really eye-opening. About 100 meters down, the space suddenly opened up. The first thing that caught the eyes of the three people was a large area of dark unknown objects in the distance. Going further down, they saw various equipment nearby, busy personnel and high-power searchlights. But no matter how bright the lights were, even if they were directed at the black area, they had no effect. With more people, there were more voices. But everyone just whispered and didn't sound noisy. Until their rail car hit the bottom, it made a loud clang, attracting everyone's attention. Ah, Minister Lin is here. Everyone who had seen Lin Fan last time came up to greet him with a smile. Lin Fan actually didn't know any of them, so he could only smile and nod to say hello. Zooping accompanied the two into the dark area. As expected, as soon as they stepped in, it was as if the gravity had doubled, and it became difficult to lift their feet. The closer they got, the harder it was to walk. Is this a setting to stop people from getting close? Lin Fan thought to himself, and walked to the bottom of the wall. Looking up, the tall and majestic black wall stood tall, at least 5 or 6 stories high. Because the material absorbs light, the top of the wall is pitch black, and it is impossible to see what is there. The wall surface is not very smooth, a bit like a melted stalactite. Lin Fan took 2 steps back and looked at the high walls on both sides that could not see the edge, and suddenly thought of a TV series he had watched before. Winter is Coming. Have you seen that TV series? The tall wall separates the ghosts and people. I dare not say more, for fear of copyright infringement. Chapter 461, Unexpected Way to Open the Door. Is it? You think it is too? Zooping obviously had also watched the TV series. Hearing Lin Fan's muttering, he asked with a smile. But it only looks like stone. Actually. He raised his hand and flicked 2 fingers towards the black wall. There was a muffled sound of clang, but it was definitely not a sound that stone could make. Look, listen to the sound. It should be metal underneath, and the black color is just a coating. Zooping raised one corner of his mouth. Seeing may not be believing. We were almost deceived. Wu Yusen touched it, and it did feel like metal. Although it does look like a city wall, there is not even a crack in this whole piece. Is it possible that the door is somewhere else? Do you think I haven't thought about it? Zooping flipped out a few drawings from the box next to him and handed them to him. Look, where there is black paint, you can't see through it. Look, how big is this area? Lin Fan leaned over to take a look. It was a black mass and he couldn't understand anything, so he turned his head away. Wu Yusen stared at the blueprint and frowned. This is already as big as a small town. Yes, the black covered area is obviously a whole piece with edges and corners. It should be a city. Zooping pointed on the map. We also tried digging a small channel from the side, but once we reached a certain distance, all the instruments broke down. It's more than 10 kilometers underground, and the rock is very hard. It's impossible to penetrate it without tools. Zooping had no choice but to ask Lin Fan to come and try. It doesn't work. Let's talk about it later. If it doesn't work, what do you think? If this is really a city wall, it is sealed so tightly that there is not even a crack in the door. Is it to seal something? Lin Fan suddenly spoke up, interrupting the conversation between the two. Although I haven't encountered it in real life, isn't it said in the story? Once Pandora's box is opened, it can't be closed. The huge city wall of winter was also built to block the dead ghosts. Since such an association has been made, you can't blame Lin Fan for thinking more. What if there is a corpse ghost or some disease inside, and we want to open it now? Isn't it bad? Lin Fan frowned slightly and looked at the two. When exploring unknown areas, we can't just think about the good things, but also consider the bad aspects. Just like when they found the ugly woman's cave before. If it wasn't for good luck, the 3 people's graves would now be covered with grass. It's not that Lin Fan is so scared. She has Xingqian after all. As long as she doesn't encounter a situation like the ugly woman, it's not difficult to get out. It's just that Wu Yusen, Zooping, and the people behind them are all ordinary people. Zooping saw Lin Fan looking behind them and knew what she was thinking. He smiled and patted her shoulder. Don't worry, everything is ready. He took out a small stone lion from the pocket of his flowered shirt. It was not even as big as a seal, like a toy. Here, the beast is here. Put it where you want to open the cave. Even if there is something inside, it can't get out. Seeing Lin Fan's curiosity, Zuping put the little lion in her hand. Lin Fan looked at this little thing which was not much bigger than her thumbnail. It was indeed very exquisite, but will it work? Mr. Kian's products must be exquisite. Zuping's thumb was almost raised to the sky, as if he was praising himself. Wu Yusen took the little lion from her hand. So you borrowed this thing? No wonder I didn't see it when I went to the equipment department before. In addition to the various general equipment produced by themselves, the equipment department also has the exquisite treasures of some big guys headed by Mr. Kian, which are also placed in it, and the taskers can use them as needed. The procedures are not complicated. Just register it and return it after use. Wu Yusen has seen the power of this little lion before. It is extraordinary. This time when I went to the equipment department, I wanted to borrow it, but it had been borrowed by someone else. I felt sorry at the time and borrowed something else of the same kind, but the effect was not as good as this little lion. Alas, in the end, it was used here after all the twists and turns. That's a must. Zuping looked pleased. The protection work is in place. Wu Yusen ignored him and said to Lin Fan, this little lion is the masterpiece of Mr. Kian, and its defense is very high. Even the eldest brother can't break through its defense without exerting all his strength. So powerful. Lin Fan's eyes lit up. Then can I break it? As for you, Wu Yusen pondered for a moment. If you rely on brute force alone, it can't be broken, but your current attack on the attached thunder should still have some effect, but it's not easy to break the defense. In short, with this weapon, no matter what monsters are inside, they can continue to be sealed inside. Don't worry. Wu Yusen smiled. That's good. Lin Fan got the guarantee, and the burden in her heart was put down. She unconsciously scratched the wall with her fingers. Just don't know how to open the door. As soon as she touched the wall, the cold touch was indeed different from stone. Before she finished speaking, someone shouted over there, "Open it, open it." The three of them looked and saw that a doorway had opened on the black high wall not far away, revealing a space that was also black, but with a reflective light. Not good. Zuping shouted. Wu Yusen had already rushed out and threw the little lion towards the door. The moment the little lion landed, a layer of purple film extended from its body, as if a layer of plastic curtain was attached to the door. When Lin Fan looked more closely, the purple color disappeared again. Except for the little lion standing steadily by the door, nothing seemed to have happened. Is there any spillover? Zuping saw that it worked and turned to ask the staff loudly. No material spillover was detected. Air indicators are normal. No unknown life forms were produced by perspective. A series of reports were quickly conveyed, and Zuping was relieved when he learned that everything was normal. I dreamed of breaking through this wall, but not in such an unprepared situation. What's wrong? Lin Fan stuck to Wu Yusen and asked in a low voice, why did this door open by itself? Do you still need me? Wu Yusen was also confused. Since Zuping asked Xingchen to break it violently, he must have tried all the methods. Why did this door suddenly open by itself? It was dark inside the door. Nothing could be seen, but there was a faint light. It was like bait that attracted fish, making people itch and unable to resist taking the bait. Lin Fan followed Wu Yusen's gaze and looked. It seemed a passage. Come and see. Zuping had already run to the work area to watch the surveillance and found a picture that surprised him. Look. When the two ran over, Zuping slowed down the picture. Lin Fan was touching the wall 1 second before the door opened. Everyone's eyes turned to Lin Fan instantly. She suddenly felt guilty and raised her hands to her chest. I didn't mean it. What are you afraid of? Zuping put his hand on her shoulder and pulled her over and smiled. It didn't work when we touched it, and it didn't work when Wu Yusen touched it. You opened the door as soon as you touched it. If we had known you were the key, why would we have bothered? Lin Fan was a little confused. It's not her fault, right? Really? Is it me? Are you sure? Wu Yusen also laughed. How can it be such a coincidence? Or you can try again. Lin Fan walked to the door with great uncertainty. How to close it? She had no idea at all, so she could only touch the wall under everyone's expectation. Sure enough, the doorway was closed, tightly closed, and it was impossible to tell that there had been a door here before. Lin Fan tried several times, but it turned out that when he touched it, he thought that it could be opened or closed. When did she have this function? Lin Fan was still staring at his hand at the door in a daze, and Zuping squinted his eyes and put forward a new hypothesis. Could this place have the same origin as the stars, so Lin Fan can control it? A new volume has begun. What is hidden underground? Why can Lin Fan open it? There are foreshadowings in the previous chapters. Wow, the universe is calling. Go. Chapter 460 to a different world. The origin of the stars has been hypothesized countless times. Most of the conclusions tend to be aliens. That is, things like 818 came to Langsing for some unknown reason and mixed with Lin Fan's genes by chance. But if this place buried deep underground for thousands of years is also related to the stars, then the previous inference that 818 is an alien may be wrong. Things that existed on Langsing thousands of years ago may not be aliens. Even if they are, thousands of years have passed. Rounding up, it is equivalent to Langsing's original existence. After all, Noah is an alien. So, 818 might not be left by Noah and others? Everyone thinks this new conjecture is very reasonable. Lin Fan was also happy to hear it. It's best if it's not an alien. Her inner sense of belonging hopes that she is a pure Langsing person. Even if this one is mixed with some ancient genes, it will not leave the planet after all. So after some adjustments, Lin Fan transformed into a star, and at the moment when the beast was closed, she stepped into the unknown space on the wall alone. It's not that there is no team spirit, but compared with Xingqian's strength, the others are simply sent to the kitchen. If something happens, it will be too late to run, and they will be dragged down, and Lin Fan will have to save people. It's better to let her go in alone, and everyone will support outside. The moment Xingqian stepped in, it suddenly lit up inside, as if someone suddenly turned on the lights. Lin Fan was startled and wanted to step back, but was blocked by the invisible soft membrane of the beast. After calming down, he looked around and saw nothing except the silver grey empty corridor, so he breathed a sigh of relief. Are you okay? Wu Yusen's voice sounded in the headset. It is worth mentioning that when all the electrical equipment was interfered with, the headset and camera head on Lin Fan's head were not interfered with inside Xingqian. This once again confirmed that Xingqian had a great connection with this place. Because of this connection, they all held a more optimistic attitude and felt that Xingqian should not encounter any major danger inside. It's okay, I just got scared. Lin Fan also laughed at her own timidity. I'll turn it on and try it now. Because she saw light inside before, it seemed different from the outside environment. So the staff asked if Xingqian could hold the device inside and turn it on again to see if it could work properly. After all, if she only relied on the camera on Xingqian's head, the exploration would still be somewhat limited. After a flash of green lights, the propeller on the top of the machine as big as a cake box started to rotate, separated from the main body, and turned into a 360-degree spherical unmanned camera, flying up and hovering in the air. The remaining online video showed a bunch of values that Lin Fan couldn't understand. After learning that it was normal, she held the small box in one hand like holding a book, and walked forward slowly. In the empty corridor, there was nothing except her footsteps and the beeping of the drone. Originally, I thought that passing through the wall should be a passage, and after walking out of the passage, you would see houses, squares, etc. But after walking for half an hour, Xingqian was still walking in the passage. The front was the same as the back, and she wondered if she was walking in a maze. No, your walking route is being recorded. There is no repetition. You continue. Zuping looked at the screen. Both the star and the drone have GPS, which can draw a 3-dimensional map based on the walking route. Lin Fan didn't know, but what they saw on the equipment, she didn't go in circles. I feel that this is not a city. Lin Fan walked alone in the brightly lit passage, although I don't have much knowledge, that is to say, which city is like this? Just alleys, not even a house. TSK. Zuping had to admit, it seems that we thought wrong. Compared with a city-state, it seems more like, what? The internal passage of a large machinery. Wu Yusen continued. What? Lin Fan really didn't understand this time. Haven't we been on an aircraft carrier? Wu Yusen knew that it was Lin Fan's blind spot again and patiently explained. Under the deck, the aisle in the middle of the cabin. Think about it. Does it look like it? Lin Fan thought for a while. If you say so, it is a bit like, but not quite. This sounded contradictory, but everyone watching in front of the screen knew what she meant. The place where Xingqian was walking was like a square water pipe. In addition to the many passages in front and behind, the surroundings were so smooth that not even a crack could be seen. Lin Fan even flew up and approached the ceiling to see where the light came from and where the light was. In the end, she couldn't see it, no matter how hard she looked. Only the wall on the ceiling was shining. If it is the same origin as Xingqian, then the technology should be higher than it is now, so the smooth metal texture is also reasonable. Zuping crossed his arms and frowned. I don't know if it's reasonable or not. I just want to say that I may have some visual fatigue. Lin Fan's eyesight is better than that of ordinary people. Walking in this bright passage all the time, the environment and light have not changed at all, which is almost the same as walking in the snowfield all the time. It is very harmful to the eyes. Take a rest first. Wu Yusen ignored Zuping and said directly, close your eyes. He originally wanted her to find a place to lean on, but when he saw the smooth wall of the passage, he could not see the beginning or the end, so he could only shut up in anger. Lin Fan felt relatively stable when she was walking, but when she stopped, she felt even more dizzy. When she closed her eyes, she felt that light penetrated her eyelids and penetrated her retina. If she lost her balance, she would fall to the side. She remembered how many sharp corners there were on Xingqian's body. If she smashed it directly against the wall and broke it, it would be bad. She quickly reached out to support the wall. As a result, the white light changed. After the three groups of yellow, blue, and green lights changed, the light turned into a soft warm white light, which was no longer dazzling. The smooth wall also began to change its unevenness. Various unknown modules were introduced from the broken gaps. The lights that were originally only on the top also appeared on the walls and the floor. The ground was no longer a seamless silver white color, but there were more track-like patterns on both sides of the passage. After a series of mechanical changes that were overwhelming, Lin Fan stood there, looking at the passage that was completely different from before, wondering if she had walked for half an hour in vain. If she had known that touching it could have this effect, she should have reached out her hand as soon as she entered the door. She was still too cautious. Lin Fan wanted to cry, but had no tears, and the people sitting in front of the screen were also speechless. Who knew that there was a protection mode after entering, and that it was necessary to continue touching to trigger it? Then what about the automatic lighting before? Wasn't it already activated? If it was a bit far-fetched to say that it was a passage just now, then no one would doubt it if it was said now that it was an internal passage of a large machine. Apart from the high-tech content and the strong sense of futuristic metal, such passages are not uncommon in the Special Affairs Office and the underground fortress of 800. This is not a city-state, Zuping said with a wry smile. I wasn't sure just now, but now it's almost certain. Lin Fan hadn't reacted yet. What is that? Did you guess what it was? Did you guess it? It's very obvious, haha. Chapter 463, Magma that should not exist. Although the question came out, Lin Fan had a vague guess in his mind. It's either a spaceship or an underground fortress. Zuping's eyebrows curved, and there was a light of satisfaction in his eyes. I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it. Come on, touch it again. Is it the ugly woman's shuttle? Lin Fan obediently touched the wall a few more times, but there was no change in the passage. It shouldn't be. Zuping denied it directly, not to mention that the size is wrong. Even if it is the ugly woman's shuttle, it doesn't make sense for you to open it easily. After all, you and the ugly woman are more enemies than relatives. The ugly woman still can't let go of Lin Fan, and she frowns when she hears her name. I don't even know if it's because Xingqian is white. The ugly woman hates white very much. After her cave was decorated, it was colorful and had all kinds of colors, but the slightly larger area of white was almost invisible. Xingqian walked for nearly an hour and hadn't finished yet. According to the size marked on the track, how could this be the size of a shuttle? So Zuping was even more happy. In addition to the shuttle, there was another unexpected surprise. It was such a large high-tech product. Regardless of whether it can fly or not, the high-tech level exposed at present is far beyond the current level, and it will definitely lead their own technological development better. Now it depends on how much Lin Fan can explore, and there is also the problem of danger. The ugly woman said that Nuwa only gave her the right to start the shuttle. In other words, the shuttle can only be opened by her. Wu Yusen also said on the side, since this thing can be related to you, I also think that it should not be a shuttle. Lin Fan felt that what they said made sense. Looking at the greatly changed passage, he continued to move forward. Don't say it. It really feels like shooting a science fiction movie. Science fiction movies don't have as high technology content as you. Zuping arranged his men to work on the new layout of the passage and did not forget to talk to Lin Fan. Xingqian's body of more than 3 meters was unimpeded in the passage, but because of his large body, the originally spacious passage seemed small. Lin Fan found that there were conveyor belts on both sides of the aisle that could be stepped on, and they would slide automatically as long as they stood on them. She wanted to save some trouble, but because Xingqian was too large, if she stood on it with 2 feet, the mecha would inevitably hang on the wall. She was here to explore the way, not to cause trouble. So she applied to go into the mecha. The instrument that Xingqian held in her hand was used to analyze the air environment. After carrying it for so long, the biochemical indicators were fine. After everyone outside discussed for a while, and after confirming that the internal environment was safe, Lin Fan carefully removed the mecha state. It's fine, there's nothing special. She found that there was indeed nothing wrong, shook her hands and feet, stepped on the transmission, and went all the way forward. Great. The people who were holding their breath outside cheered. Being able to go in directly without wearing protection is definitely more convenient in terms of action and operation. Be careful yourself. Wu Yusen reminded. Be mecha high feed at any time, understand? I know. Lin Fan's vigilance was not completely lifted. Don't worry, it's a matter of a thought. Besides, for me, as long as the injury is not fatal, I won't die. Her cell repair function is not exaggerated. Although the process may not be very pleasant, it's good to be able to save her life. So for this level of exploration, she must be more suitable than anyone else. Because it was a road exploration, Lin Fan walked through every passage diligently. When he came across a few door openings, he carefully turned into Xingqian to open the door and take a look. Some doors opened to reveal a sealed mountain wall with no space at all, while some were small caves with jagged rocks, but they looked sealed at first glance. After Lin Fan looked at a few, he had a picture in his mind. He was in something surrounded by rocks, and he didn't know how it was built. It was not until he walked a long distance that he opened another door. The drone camera was suspended above her head and stretched out together like before. The next second, Zuping and others were shocked by the black and red picture on the screen. Magma? The area of magma was not small. Although it was far away from the door, the picture of steam rising, distorted air, and small bubbles from time to time still made everyone in front of the screen feel a wave of heat coming. Why is there magma here? Wu Yusen was confused. There is magma? The first reaction of a normal person would be to think, will it erupt? Zuping didn't know, so he quickly asked the relevant personnel to answer. In fact, as long as it is underground, there will be magma everywhere. It is produced deep in the crust and the upper mantle, and it is a hot and viscous molten material containing volatile components, and the main component is silicate. The geologist pushed his glasses, that slipped to the tip of his nose, when he was pulled over and said, "Speak human language." Zuping didn't have the patience to listen to those official explanations at this time, so he interrupted and asked directly, "Will it erupt? If this high-tech product is blocking the crater, wouldn't it be equivalent to all of them standing on the edge of the crater?" No. This time the geologist was smart and said a negative first, and the people around him were visibly relieved. Volcanic eruptions are the result of plate movement. Now that Langsing's rotation is getting slower and slower, plate activity and volcanic activity will gradually subside. He leaned over to take a look at the red and white magma and continued. This is not magma yet, it's the asthenosphere. It is semi-plastic when the pressure is static, and it is absolutely safe. Only when the pressure decreases, such as when the crust cracks, will it turn into magma and flow in the direction of lower pressure. Does that mean that, if the external pressure remains unchanged, it will not be dangerous for the time being? Zuping concluded. Yes. The geologist nodded and pointed on the screen. But if the temperature rises suddenly, magma will also form, melting the black rock layers above, forming what we often call a volcanic eruption. It's just strange. This place is only a dozen kilometers underground, and it doesn't meet the specific conditions of the asthenosphere. What conditions? John Woo asked. Oh, that's right. The geologist pushed his big square glasses again. Generally speaking, the asthenosphere is located below 80 kilometers in the crust, and the oceanic crust is also below 60 kilometers. And it usually occurs at the cracks in the crust. Seeing Zuping glaring at him, he quickly changed his words. It's similar to the Great Rift Valley, Trench Island arcs and the like. There are also places where plates collide, but the crust is thick there, generally below 60 kilometers, and the lava is cooled by seawater when it is ejected, so it does not cause an actual eruption effect. This is why it gets hotter the deeper you go underground, because there is a layer of asthenosphere with unclear boundaries distributed in the upper layer of the lithosphere above the upper mantle. This layer is the main source of magma. So, it is abnormal to have magma in this location? Zuping frowned. Yes, we are inland. Although we are in an earthquake-prone zone, we are not on a plate fault. You see those places where volcanoes are frequent, most of them are islands and seasides, not to mention that we are in a mountainous area. This natural landscape formed by the uneven rocks is famous all over the world. Although such a magnificent scene is inseparable from the change of the Earth's crust, it is different from the upward movement of magma. One of the major reasons why it is not suitable for survival beyond 30 kilometers underground is because it is too hot, and the reason for this heat is the Earth's core magnetic field and the asthenosphere. The heat they are feeling now comes from the heat transmitted from the rock layer across dozens of kilometers. Now the magma is coming up directly. This unreasonable situation must have some extraordinary reason. Fortunately, there is this unknown technological product blocking it. Otherwise, the high temperature of 1000 degrees can directly turn them into steam. Just thinking about it, the screen image began to become unstable. Under the high temperature, even if it is far away, the parts of the drone camera began to melt. After the camera had poor contact and was about to go on strike, the propeller also stopped working. Everyone in front of the screen couldn't help but exclaim as they watched the first-person perspective falling down and about to fall into the magma. The next second, a big black hand firmly grasped the poor drone, and Lin Fan's voice of relief rang out. It's okay, it's okay. I caught it. I carefully looked up information about the magma part. There are many opinions about the depth of the asthenosphere. I chose one of them. You can just take a look at it. After all, I'm not a scientific researcher. Speaking of which, there have been many opportunities for popular science before. When writing these, I don't want to talk nonsense and try to write according to real data, so I checked a lot of information. Even though it's only a few hundred words. Haha. Reading novels and learning some small knowledge by the way. Don't you feel it's a bit worthwhile? Chapter 464. Where does the energy come from? Lin Fan looked at the poor thing in his hand, whose shell had become soft, and stuffed it back into its original position on the box. Can you still watch? Xingqian stretched out his big head and turned it towards the outside of the door. He acted like an artificial camera and scanned the places that could be filmed again. If it's almost done, I'll close the door. Theoretically, Xingqian could go down to take a lava bath without any problem. But Lin Fan kept looking at the red lava below, feeling a little scared. The video footage had been collected almost completely, and it was meaningless to keep the door open. Zuping directly asked Lin Fan to close the door and move forward. Once the panoramic camera broke, only the camera on Lin Fan's headgear was still usable. Although the viewing angle and automation were not as good as those of drones, it was better than nothing. After the danger was eliminated, they could go in and record whatever they wanted. Under the current conditions, there was naturally nothing to choose. Lin Fan explored all the way and finally opened a door that was not facing the outside. She looked at the slightly dim light and countless pipes inside and put the instrument in her hand that measured air quality and harmful substances in first. Come to think of it, there is one thing I find a little strange. While waiting, she said to the person on the other side of the headset, "You tell me." Wu Yusen took over. Zuping was staring at the values on the instrument and had no time to talk. "This place is supposed to have been sealed for a long time, right?" Lin Fan leaned against the door and put the small box in her hand on the floor inside the door. "This thing is not worth mentioning to Xingqian, and it is still a bit heavy for her to carry. According to the geological survey results, the formation time of the surrounding rocks is at least more than 3,000 years. Zuping replied, "The environment inside is safe. You can go in." Lin Fan took a look at the values above, picked up the small box, stepped into the inner room, and asked at the same time, "So where does the air inside come from? Normally, in a closed space that has been sealed for so many years, will the air content be the same as the outside world?" Don't say she is uneducated. She has also seen a lot of tomb robbing movies. In many sealed tomb passages, there may not be air, or it is just some stale poisonous gas. Although this place is not a tomb passage, isn't the principle the same? Even though her house in her hometown had been vacant for a long time, there was an indescribable smell when she went back to get clothes last time. But here, Lin Fan sniffed hard. "I don't know if it's my illusion. I feel that the air inside is a little fresher than outside. It's not an illusion." Zuping immediately followed up. "From the numerical point of view, the air quality inside is indeed much better. Feelings are subjective, but numerical values are scientific and objective." Lin Fan's feeling is right. The space they are in is more than 10 kilometers underground. Not to mention the heat, although there is a channel connecting to the outside world. After all, the distance is too long, and the air quality is not that good. In addition to the heat and the large number of people, there is really a little bit of everything, which is really not comfortable. "So, is it reasonable now?" Lin Fan's voice of not seeking to understand came through the instrument again. "Even if there is an air purification device in here, it can't be turned on all the time. No way." She suddenly stopped, but then again, "It responds when I touch it. The equipment here seems to be always on, just like hibernation. That means this thing is always in standby mode." Zuping crossed his arms and leaned back. "Otherwise it can't respond so quickly. The more complex and sophisticated the instrument, the longer it takes to start up. Because there are many parts involved, and there are system responses, etc." Anyway, when Lin Fan stepped in, and the lights came on immediately, they discussed this possibility outside. Then it must have required a lot of energy to keep it running for so many years. Lin Fan continued to walk forward along the pipeline, and suddenly his eyes lit up. "Hey, there are stairs." She quickened her pace and trotted over. "It's the stairs going up." When inspecting the equipment room and exploring upwards, most people chose to go up. Lin Fan held the escalator and walked up carefully. Zuping also took the opportunity to answer the question that he didn't have time to ask just now. "It is said that the energy required for hibernation is not much, but it depends on the specific situation. You have been walking for so long, and you haven't seen all the floors. Proportionally, this is not a small thing. The more Lin Fan walked, the larger the 3D map became, and the smaller the new route she extended became. This high-tech unknown space that they thought was the ruins of an ancient city-state was much larger than they imagined. While they were excited, everyone was also full of emotion. In a place they didn't know, it turned out that such high technology had long existed and had been dormant underground. Compared with the scene they saw now, many of the advances that made them complacent before seemed not worth mentioning at all. So, is it possible that the magma is actually a kind of energy? Lin Fan had this idea for some reason when she was listening to their discussion in the headphones just now. "You mean, in order to maintain its energy needs, the builders here specially put the magma below for heating?" Wu Yusen glanced at Zuping and felt that this idea didn't seem impossible. "Yes, isn't it said that energy conversion is conserved?" Lin Fan explained with her superficial knowledge. "The magma generates so much heat energy. Since it can be converted into other energies, why can't it be converted into other energies to maintain this big guy?" The people outside looked at each other, and someone immediately ran to the side to start calculating the possibility. Lin Fan was still talking. "If the magma was moved here on purpose, then why would the magma exist in such a shallow position? It has been sealed here for so many years, and the energy has not been cut off. Isn't it also explained? As for how to move the magma here, sorry, that is beyond her knowledge, and Lin Fan automatically skipped it. You are right, there is indeed this possibility. Zuping praised, you are smart, and have provided us with a very good direction. Lin Fan's vanity was greatly satisfied, and he strode up and finally reached the upper floor. The same pipes were lined up, numerous but not messy, and even people with obsessive compulsive disorder would give it a thumbs up. Following the impression just now, he found the location of the door, and opened it to go out. Look, the air is still qualified. Lin Fan once again extended the instrument, and said while looking at the values on it. After a few times, she had memorized the normal values. There was still an empty corridor, and it seemed no different from the lower level. But when moving forward through the conveyor belt, Lin Fan still felt the change in space. There were more signs and doors on the wall. Just now down there were doors only on one side of the outer wall, and each door was far apart. But now, no matter left or right, there is a door not far away. Lin Fan didn't understand the building structure. She just shook her head as much as possible when watching, so that the camera could record more comprehensively. Because she had just stepped into this floor, there was too much uncertainty, and she didn't dare to open the door rashly, like she did on the lower floor just now. Finally, when the progress of the map reached 2/3 of the lower floor, Zuping gave a new order. Lin Fan, push a door and see. This is where the magma works. Wakaka, wakakaka. Chapter 465, Fright and Boredom. Exploration itself is a very time-consuming thing. Everyone hopes not to encounter danger, but without danger, it is inevitable to be boring. After Lin Fan's hard work, these rooms with large areas, but empty walls and only one door were roughly judged to be storage rooms. The reason why it is roughly is that except for a few rooms with frames similar to shelves, no other evidence was found. Lin Fan's defensiveness also dropped significantly after opening one door after another. Fatigue gradually came over her, and she felt a little bored. Why is the story of tomb robbery so exciting and attractive? Isn't it just about monsters and treasures? Although she didn't encounter any monsters now, she didn't see any treasures either. It's like walking in vain. Except for the increase in the number of steps, it seems that there is nothing to gain. It is safe, but psychologically, it is very rebellious, and it is a bit disappointed. Is it possible that you still want to encounter something? No, no, no. Lin Fan shook his head violently. Let's not do it. Outside the screen, Zuping found it funny to see Lin Fan's lost face. As a newcomer, Wu Yusen helped his son to save face. I always feel that I can only prove myself by finding something. Little did he know that such a calm and peaceful environment is the best mission environment. I would rather be bored to the end than have any unexpected incidents. I understand. After all, we went through this in the first place. Zuping restrained his smile very politely and turned to look at the side. On the 3D stereoscopic screen, there are more and more winding routes. Zuping has also thought about sending more people to speed up the exploration progress. But not now. The model next to him has successfully simulated and built the internal space based on the previous camera data. Using the 3D route map that has been walked, and then comparing it with the towering black wall in front of her, it is obvious that she has only walked the tip of the iceberg, not even 1/3. In this case, safety cannot be guaranteed with a high probability. Not encountering danger now does not mean that all dangers have been eliminated. If it is an ordinary underground palace environment, he can also pull people from other departments to cooperate. But for this high-tech fortress, they don't even know how to open the door. If Lin Fan hadn't accidentally opened the door, according to his original plan, he would have let Xingchen violently break a hole to get out. That would have been a pity. So everything in the world has its own destiny. Zuping calmly drank a sip of tea, looked at the perspective on the screen, and felt the depression of Lin Fan, who was still exploring the road like a little ant. In this situation, after thinking about it, only Lin Fan is the most suitable, so she can only work hard. Zuping and Wu Yusen's encouragement probably worked. Not long after, Lin Fan accidentally entered the elevator again, and ran directly to the upper floor. In this unique, octagonal pavilion-like small room, she originally wanted to walk through the room and open any door on the other walls to see where it led to. As a result, before she reached the other side, Zuping told her that she had already gone upstairs. Lin Fan really didn't feel anything at all. Although they didn't know the activation principle, they were basically sure that this room was the elevator room. Since they had already gone up, they might as well continue to explore. Lin Fan walked out of the elevator room in a daze and found that this floor was indeed different from the one below. There were more things in the room. Some of them had tables and chairs, and some had things similar to instruments. Lin Fan couldn't understand them, but she went in and looked around every room because they had different places. There was no other way. The camera was on her head. The rooms were big and small, and there was even an open space similar to a small square. Zuping and others were guessing outside, saying that this one might be a lounge, that one might be a laboratory. The room was getting bigger and bigger, and there were more and more things that she didn't recognize. Lin Fan looked at the cabinets with transparent windows on the entire wall of the room. She touched the glass, and it was quite cold. "Why are there so many refrigerators here?" she muttered. "Isn't it? If some horizontal grids are added, wouldn't this be an enlarged version of the vertical refrigerators for drinks in small supermarkets?" Seeing Lin Fan looking in one by one, wondering if there was really something frozen, Zuping wanted to cover her face. "Miss, how can there be such a tall refrigerator? Although they look similar in appearance, these are obviously much taller, and you can see the pipeline installation in the corners inside. They are definitely not refrigerators." Although Zuping doesn't understand high technology, she can easily see it. "I don't know what Lin Fan is thinking. Do you want to eat?" Wu Yusen asked from the side. "Let's find a place to eat something." Several hours have passed, and it's already past mealtime. It's not surprising that Lin Fan, who has developed a biological clock, wants to eat. "Okay." Lin Fan nodded. She said it. "Why is it not good? Not being hungry is a physiological state, but you will feel very satisfied after eating." Lin Fan turned around and looked around. There was a round olive-shaped long table next to her, which was just right for putting the box on it. The box in her hand was a multifunctional toolbox. In addition to the previous unmanned camera and the comprehensive instrument for measuring the air environment, there was also a storage space on the bottom layer. It was filled with high-calorie food and water. If there is no stool, then there is no stool. You can eat standing up. Lin Fan happily walked to the table she thought with a little jump, and put the box on it. The moment the box touched the table, the silver table became transparent, revealing a figure inside. "Oh my god." Lin Fan took a few steps back and tripped, but he did not forget to support himself with his arms and shrank back. The people who were originally comfortable in front of the screen also saw it and all stood up. Someone. The screen was still facing the ceiling, and Lin Fan was still lying on the ground. Wu Yusen rushed to the intercom and asked loudly, "Are you okay?" Zuping also hurriedly asked someone to replay it. The picture just now flashed too fast, and they only saw a rough outline. It's okay. Lin Fan's voice was a little weak, but the perspective was at least back to normal. "I thought it was a table just now. I don't know what it is." From the side, it is still flat and silver white, and the black small box is quietly placed on it. Lin Fan swallowed hard and sat on the ground, not wanting to go over. Zuping had already called up the fleeting picture. "It's a humanoid." Wu Yusen distracted himself and took a closer look. It was a person wearing a helmet, and part of his body was wrapped in a suit that might be a spacesuit. The lower body was not seen because of the perspective. But judging from the plump state of the upper body, it seems that there is indeed something inside. Everyone's heart began to numb. Couldn't that row just now be frozen hibernation chambers? Someone suddenly shouted. "These are biological hibernation chambers, and there are." Before he could finish his words, he was covered by the hand of the person next to him. In the first person perspective, he was trembling visibly. Lin Fan was scared. There was someone in there. He didn't know whether he was dead or alive. If it was a dead person, she would be afraid of dead people too. What if it was a living person? What if an alien popped out? Her mind was in a mess and she couldn't think at all. In this chaos, one thought was particularly clear. John Woo was right. Being bored is better than having something to do. Cryo. Oh, I was scared to death. Someone suddenly appeared. I thought about the exploration process and decided not to write in detail, otherwise it would take dozens of chapters. It's just for fun. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 466, A False Alarm. Zuping immediately arranged for someone to go and provide support when he saw the situation. Xingqian was indeed powerful, but Lin Fan's mentality was similar to that of an ordinary girl, and she was still in the rookie period. The current situation was clearly beyond her ability to cope with. In addition, considering that she was already psychologically fragile, timely support and protection of the team members were also what she should do. You can't just let others do everything when nothing is wrong, and blame them for not being able to do anything when something goes wrong. The Special Affairs Office would never do such a thing. I'll go in. Wu Yusen couldn't sit still at this time, and was eager to save people. Lin Fan heard his roar, and suddenly calmed down, trembling to stop him. No, don't come in. I'll take a break. Wu Yusen paused and returned to the screen. Are you sure? Lin Fan's damn stubborn temper came up again. Wu Yusen was really a love-hate relationship sometimes. Lin Fan mumbled twice, and then began to take a few deep breaths. Everyone saw the screen start to stabilize, and the shaking stopped, so they didn't dare to disturb her, and secretly cheered her on in their hearts. Lin Fan still felt a little numb, gritted his teeth and stood up, turning into a star. What was she afraid of? Exclamation mark. She was afraid that someone else would come in. What if something unexpected happened? Wouldn't she feel guilty? Everything was just a paper tiger. She encouraged herself in her heart while slowly moving forward. Isn't it just a person? Exclamation mark. Don't be afraid. Finally standing in front of the table again, Lin Fan stared at the cabin with wide eyes, as if she was no longer afraid, because her eyes were wide open. This time the picture was stable for a long time, and everyone saw a complete person in a spacesuit lying quietly. Lin Fan took the box on top to one side, and walked around the metal cabin again and again. I don't know if it was because she was mentally prepared, or because she saw that the people inside didn't move. The fear in her heart was indeed reduced a lot. What should I do now? She looked at the person who didn't know whether he was alive or dead in the glass and asked. Ignore it for now, and see if there are any similar cabins nearby. Zuping ordered. Be careful and stay alert. Okay. Lin Fan didn't want to stay here any longer, so she quickly explored the side. This room is quite large, but the space is not transparent, and there are many partition walls that are not closed. Lin Fan carefully searched the entire space. When she found two identical metal cabins not far away, her heart was lifted. But when she touched the lid and found that there was nothing inside, she breathed a long sigh of relief. It looks like there is only that one at the moment. Lin Fan walked back and asked again, could it be that I missed something just now? Those tables and chairs that were just glanced at, maybe they are all this? No. Zuping took the report from the person next to him and flipped through it. The functions of the rooms in this place are very concentrated, and such cabins and freezers only appear in this room. At least I have seen them before, and I have checked here. There are no similar ones. Don't worry. Lin Fan almost wanted to go back and check all the rooms again. Hearing this, she felt much more relaxed. What about that? Should we open the lid? It doesn't seem difficult to open it. Whether it's finding a switch or violently breaking it, it shouldn't be difficult. But the question is, should we open it or not? Zuping and the others discussed and felt that it didn't matter whether it was opened or not, since Xingqian was the strongest force anyway. If the person inside jumped up, Xingqian would go up if he could, but if he couldn't, everyone would be done for. Moreover, even if we don't open it now, Xingqian would have to be present during the whole process of transporting it back, just in case, so the result is actually similar. The final decision was handed over to Lin Fan. Lin Fan hesitated for a long time and thought it was better not to open it. The person is lying well. Why do you have to open the coffin for him? Let him go and see other places first. Everyone expressed their support. But after Lin Fan walked out of this room, he kept thinking about it, and his heart was itching repeatedly, wondering whether the guy inside was dead or alive. In the end, he couldn't stand it anymore and ran back. Maybe he had been thinking about it for a long time, and when he came back and saw Sleeping Beauty again, Lin Fan was not so scared. In line with the principle of not destroying anything if possible, under the guidance of everyone, the glass cover was finally opened. This is a glass cover with an upward flip structure, which stands vertically to the ground after opening. Lin Fan thought that it would automatically produce a membrane and disappear like a beast, but she didn't expect that. She thought too much. This thing is not as advanced as she thought. Suddenly I feel that the things here may not be so advanced. With such a psychological gap, the Sleeping Beauty lying inside seems to have lost another layer of filter and is not so scary. Lin Fan first stretched out his big head and looked at the opened cabin carefully again and again. There are no tubes on the body. The cover has been opened for a long time and it hasn't woken up yet. People's psychology is quite strange. At first, I was so scared, and now I hope that others will wake up. But if they really wake up, it will probably be another situation. There is a display on the cabin, but no one can understand it, so everyone is blind and no one can figure out the situation. Seeing that the other side was still buzzing with discussion, Lin Fan suddenly plucked up his courage and gently pulled the gloves inside. It didn't move, but it felt not full. Are you saying it's empty inside? Zuping heard Lin Fan say this when she was pulled back by Wu Yusen. I didn't say that. I just felt that the inside of the gloves was soft, not like there were fingers. Lin Fan hurried to clarify. As she spoke, she pressed another finger, and the whole piece collapsed and never came up again. Lin Fan raised her hand in fear. I didn't use any force. Zuping touched his chin. With Xingqian's strength, it was hard to say whether he used any force or not. Do you dare to lift the goggles directly? He asked. This suit seems to have a special connection buckle, which may not be easy to disassemble directly. Try to see if you can open his goggles directly. Lin Fan tried it, up, down, left, and right. I can't open it. She had put all kinds of scary pictures of heads in her mind, but in the end, she didn't use them. And because she used too much force just now, the helmet and the clothes connected to the neck began to move up, forming a fatal angle. If there were living people inside now, they might have been killed by her directly. Lin Fan looked at his masterpiece with a sad heart, feeling like a murderer. Wu Yusen knew that her strength was controlled freely, and it was impossible for her to kill by mistake, so he comforted her in time. It depends on the situation. It may really be empty inside. Lin Fan, who had no psychological burden, took action again, twisting and rotating back and forth, and finally took the helmet off the clothes. Sure enough, there was nothing inside. The air meter did not detect any decay information. Lin Fan was happy and unhappy, and disassembled all the joints and places that could be disassembled. It was empty. There was not even a hair inside. So why was she so scared just now? Who was so bored that he assembled empty clothes into such a scary thing? Exclamation mark. Lin Fan exited the Mecha, crossed his arms angrily, and cursed this bad guy in his heart 10,000 times. Haha, which bad guy did it? It's so bad taste. I originally wanted to write an alien here, but then I thought it was useless, so I just made it disappear. Wow. Chapter 467 A Different Little Plane. This anger lasted for a long time, causing Lin Fan to speed up his movements for a long time afterwards. Fortunately, he didn't need the star state most of the time, and he replenished himself from time to time, so his physical energy consumption was not that great, but Lin Fan himself was still very tired. It's not that he couldn't rest, but Lin Fan wanted to finish it quickly and get out early. This area was white and empty everywhere, with nothing. To be honest, it was very boring. So Lin Fan moved quickly and rarely stopped in the middle. He persisted until the evening, and it was past bedtime. The biological clock played its role on time. Lin Fan yawned one after another, and the onlookers outside felt her sleepiness. Zuping asked her to go to sleep first. Anyway, there was no danger on the third floor. This section was still safe for the time being. Lin Fan was really tired, so she obediently sat down in the next room, next to the door, and began to take a nap. As a result, she jumped up again before she slept for 3 hours. Wu Yusen was on duty outside, and when she asked what was going on, she said that a bunch of aliens chased her in her dream. Well, since she couldn't sleep well anyway, she could continue. There were staff members on duty outside, and there was no emergency that required anyone to be called. So when Zuping got up, Lin Fan had already finished running the first floor. "How is it? Any new discoveries?" Zuping asked directly without being polite. "We have found what appear to be meeting rooms and restaurants." Wu Yusen gestured for him to look, and the staff next to him handed over pictures in due course. "We are not far from the top floor now." Wu Yusen had also been sitting all night, and he stood up and stretched his waist. "There are only 2 or 3 floors left, and we will be done soon. Haven't you seen the main control room yet?" Zuping looked at the screenshot in his hand seriously. In such a developed technological space, there must be a control room. Even a small company with more than a dozen computers will have a computer room for servers, let alone such a large place. "Not yet," Wu Yusen answered casually, but suddenly choked when he saw the picture on the screen. Zuping looked up and wanted to jump into the screen. Fuck. It was a very strange looking thing, without eye-catching wings, and its body was not smooth, but a long flat triangle, like a big dart. But whether it was Lin Fan or others, when they saw it for the first time, only 2 words emerged in their minds. Airplane. "Come closer, come closer." Zuping had already crumpled the picture in his hand into a ball, and he wanted to crawl in through the camera. After being bored for so long, he finally saw the thing he liked. What is the ultimate dream of men? Not a beautiful woman, not a sports car, but this kind of machine that exudes extreme beauty throughout the body. Lin Fan was stunned for a few seconds, and walked in carefully, as if afraid of disturbing something. "Is this an airplane?" she asked. In a space that was obviously more spacious than the other rooms, the big triangular guy stopped in the middle of the maintenance rack. "It looks like it. Come closer and take a look," Wu Yusen replied, and did not forget to remind him, "Be careful. The further you go, the clearer you can see. This thing has no legs." Lin Fan sighed. When an airplane is parked, it is attached to the ground by its landing gear, but this thing doesn't have one. It is suspended in the air, and its triangular body is supported by brackets extending from the bottom and sides of the wall. From below, it is a smooth piece, with only the front end of the triangle tip protruding downward, but the shape is very smooth. It feels like a quay leg stuck in the head of a dart. Lin Fan climbed to the upper level along the stairs of the maintenance rack. There is no difference between looking from above and from below, except that she saw something that looked like an engine at the position of her butt. "Here." She pointed with her finger, afraid that the people behind the screen couldn't see clearly. "The gap here is obviously bigger, and it seems that it can rotate and change direction." The people on this side of the screen could only nod. Nothing could be seen in other places, so Lin Fan came to the head, the bulging hemispherical position. "If this is a plane, this should be the cockpit, right? But it's not transparent either." She scratched her head as she looked at the sphere of the same color as other places. "Or should I touch it?" She knew that she had a special physique, and for some reason, she had a certain unlocking function for the things here. Without thinking too much, she reached out and touched the fuselage. The next moment, the fuselage flashed a burst of light that was indescribable, as if it was there and not there, as if it had been electrified and revived. The original dark gray paint surface turned much darker. More importantly, the hemisphere really opened. Unlike what everyone thought, it did not open upright, but rotated downward, and the entire sphere disappeared into the fuselage, revealing a driving seat that could accommodate 1 person. Wow. Even though Lin Fan was not interested in these, he couldn't help but howl. Isn't it amazing? Not to mention those technology tycoons outside the screen. Most of them were panting, wishing they could go through the camera and dismantle the aircraft on the spot. "Do I still need to go in?" "No need, right?" Lin Fan stepped on the broad delta wing and took a close look at the sunken cockpit. "I don't know how to fly a plane at all. Although this high-tech plane is definitely different from the ones she has seen in terms of control methods, the principle is always the same. What if she accidentally starts it with the master key after entering? There are rocks outside, and there is magma below. She dare not think about the consequences. No, no. Zooping obviously also had this concern and called Lin Fan to continue walking. Lin Fan went out directly through the door of the maintenance rack and reached a new level. Outside, the scientific leaders could no longer contain their excitement and applied to enter in advance. Zooping looked at the 3D route map and saw that there was less than 1/5 of the space left. After hesitating for a while, he agreed. It's not that there are no capable people in his group, but for the sake of safety, just in case, and to minimize unnecessary losses, he wanted Lin Fan to explore the way before everyone entered together. But now it seems that the progress is gratifying and the expected danger has not happened. If nothing goes wrong, Lin Fan will be able to reach the top in less than half a day. As she went around, it was inevitable that there were some small corners that she had not explored, just like when she went upstairs directly from the maintenance rack just now. The remaining parts downstairs were naturally left behind. In this case, it is not impossible to let Lin Fan come back to complete the route, but under the current safe environment, it is not necessary for Lin Fan to go alone. For safety reasons, Zooping asked the team to only survey the route that Lin Fan had taken on the first floor, and to clean up the places she had not been to, and not to go upstairs for the time being. When he sent people in and restored the beast to its original state, when he came back, he saw a group of people crowded in front of the screen again. "What did you find again?" he pushed in while shoving. "It's the main control room," a voice replied. "No, it's the cockpit," another voice retorted. Zooping squeezed in front of the screen and his eyes widened instantly. What did you find?" "I had a dream today. I dreamed that my teeth fell out, my contact lenses also fell out, and I couldn't see anything clearly. An old man held my hand and rode a bicycle to take me to the dentist. As a result, he fell at the door and lost a few more teeth. When I went in line, I sneezed and lost a few more teeth. I waited for the doctor without seeing anything clearly and heard them chatting. Someone introduced a partner to the doctor, and the doctor said that tomorrow's blind date is waiting behind you to see the dentist. Oh my god, I woke up. It feels like another beginning. I can write a sweet article or a short story, but I will wait until I have time. I'm so busy recently." Chapter 468. The ugly woman is very angry. The room where Lin Fan was standing was at the end of this floor. As soon as she entered, she felt something was different. At the front of the room was a tall and wide circular screen, like the 3D giant screen theater she had seen. The interior space was not horizontal, but fanned downward from the floor where she was standing. There were seats on each floor, and the higher up, the fewer there were. There were 10 seats in the bottom row, 6 on the next floor, 2 on the next floor, and only 1 on the top floor, which was her floor, and they were also fanned out. There was also a small white table in front of the seat, probably for placing things. Why didn't the top one have a small table? Lin Fan looked at the white egg-shaped seat not far from her side in surprise. The shape looked quite similar to the seats in the first-class cabin of the high-speed rail. "Is this a VIP theater?" she muttered as she walked towards the egg-shaped chair. Wu Yusen just wanted to cover his head, this silly girl. Although the interior environment was indeed very similar to a high-end VIP theater, she had forgotten where this was. At this time, Zooping just came back, which brought up the argument between the two people behind. Lin Fan had already sat on the egg-shaped chair. It's quite comfortable. The ergonomics is really great. She subconsciously rubbed the grip on the armrest. Both sides were round and soft, and it felt so comfortable. She couldn't help but touch it again and again. Just when she heard the other side say driver's cab and hadn't reacted yet, a virtual screen popped up in front of her. Zooping came over and saw this scene. What should I do? Lin Fan was dumbfounded. Looking at the interface in front of her, she didn't dare to move. She even put her hand that was touching the armrest back to her chest. Obviously, the virtual interface here can be touched, but she can't understand the words on it. And this thing has no color distinction. Green is safe, red is dangerous, etc. If she is unlucky and clicks destroy on the spot, it will be terrible. Zooping looked at the interface in front of her, both excited and confused, and kept reminding, don't move first. A technician on the other side had already taken a screenshot and circulated it internally first. After sending it, He found that no one in the team knew it, so he quickly sent it to the Special Affairs Office for help. It was obviously written in a language they were not familiar with. If it was Lanzingwan, it would be okay, but it was probably an alien language. Oh, by the way, we can ask the ugly woman. Maybe she knows it? Zuping suddenly had an idea and sent the picture to Jinsichin. Jinsichin was on his way back to the Special Affairs Office, but he immediately turned back to find the ugly woman. This process really took a long time. The team that was sent in had explored the first floor and was about to move to the second floor when they reported that there were still unexplored areas below. Lin Fan was so bored that he fell asleep in his chair. He almost jumped up when he heard the news. How come there are still areas below? Exclamation mark. Zuping was happy and worried. Big has its advantages, but at the same time, the risk factor has also increased. I thought this place was built upwards like a regular building, but I didn't expect that they also dug downwards like the Special Affairs Office. There were also many people who opened bets nearby, betting whether this was a fortress or a spaceship. Zuping looked at the 3D route map and saw that there were not many exploration areas left. He felt that they were too happy too early. After careful consideration, she asked the team that had explored the first floor to come back first. Lin Fan sat on the egg-shaped chair for a long time and was so bored that she fell asleep. When she woke up this time, she didn't want to waste time anymore. Her task was not completed yet, not to mention that there were now more floors below. She was very clever and found that there was a certain space between the armrests and the cushions below the light screen. Shouldn't she touch the light screen? She just moved out. Lin Fan applauded her own cleverness and immediately started to implement it. Her body was not soft, but after all, she had been trained and was quite flexible. She used all her strength and exerted her body's maximum flexibility to move out little by little until her eyes slowly passed under the light screen and her head left the cushion. Before she could cheer, the light screen disappeared in an instant. Lin Fan's excitement was in vain. She felt that she had been tossing and turning for nothing. Now that she was out, she had learned a lesson this time. She would not sit on the chair or touch other places here. Lin Fan walked down quickly and took clear photos of the corners of the other floors. On the table at the bottom, she could vaguely see a pattern on the tablet top. She kept a safe distance and got closer to take a look, hoping that the camera would also capture it. Suddenly, the black giant screen lit up. Lin Fan. A huge roar suddenly sounded, frightening Lin Fan so much that he shivered, and his hand unconsciously touched something on the tablet top. Outside, in front of Zuping and others, the dark wall suddenly phosphorescently glowed, as if countless mosaics with light were surging inside. When the darkness faded, the silver-gray metal outer layer was revealed. The originally unclear city walls in the distance turned into a shiny high-tech metal outer wall. The high and low structures made the space that could only be imagined by the 3D route come true. After a period of silence, the voices boiled, and the enthusiasm of everyone outside was ignited. Fuck. Zuping lowered his head and pressed his temple, feeling very complicated. This damn thing is actually a disguise. High tech. So fucking. So cool. John Woo was also excited, but he was more concerned about Lin Fan, his eyes fixed on the ugly woman on the screen. Yes, the face of the ugly woman suddenly appeared on the screen. She seemed to be angry, her face flushed, and on the huge screen, her nostrils were wheezing, as if she could swallow Lin Fan. After Lin Fan saw clearly that it was the ugly woman, he was also full of doubts. But seeing her expression was not surprised. He smiled wisely and raised his hand to say, hi, your head. The ugly woman was very angry. If possible, she wanted to go through the screen and beat this damn girl. Madam, why are you scolding me? Lin Fan retreated to the steps behind with a confused face. The ugly woman's head was really too big. She didn't want to keep looking up, nor did she want to keep facing the ugly woman's nostrils. Back to the top layer and look again. Well, although it is still big, it is obviously much more comfortable. Don't be angry, didn't you agree that it has nothing to do with Lin Fan? Over there, Jin Sichin's voice came over, and soon, he also appeared on the screen. Hi, Lin Fan. Hi, long time no see. Lin Fan ignored the ugly woman in front of him, and waved to Jin Sichin. They haven't seen each other for a long time. But seeing that he calmed the ugly woman down with just 2 words, his mission was very successful. The ugly woman finally put her head back, but she didn't look good to Lin Fan. "What's going on?" Lin Fan asked Jin Sichin directly. "Didn't the queen like me very much before? Why are you so angry today? Who likes you?" The ugly woman couldn't help but roar again. Calm down, let's talk it out." Jin Sichin coaxed her from the side and took a fan to fan her slowly. You dead girl." The ugly woman calmed down a lot after hearing what Jin Sichin said, but the finger that conveyed her anger was still facing the camera, as if to poke Lin Fan's forehead. "If it weren't for you, how could they have discovered the shuttle?" Someone guessed it right. In fact, other spaceships can be written here, and Atlantis can also be written in detail. But I don't have time, so I'll just shorten it and let Lin Fan go out and play earlier. It's almost time. Chapter 469, An Unexpected Coincidence. Is this a shuttle? The shuttle you're talking about? Not only Lin Fan was surprised, everyone else found it unbelievable. They had been guessing in the underground fortress and the spaceship, and the guess about the shuttle had long been automatically overturned because of the huge space inside it. Just when they thought they had discovered a new technological product, the ugly woman suddenly told them that this was the shuttle they were looking for. The double happiness suddenly halved. It was originally a good thing, but everyone seemed to be a little depressed. With your own broken technological level, can you find such a high-tech product besides the shuttle of the goddess Nuwa? The ugly woman's words were a naked blow, but no one could refute it. But, isn't the shuttle too pointed at the sides, thick in the middle, jujube shaped, flat and long? Before Zuping finished speaking, the ugly woman interrupted him unceremoniously. "You also wrote my name as ugly." She had learned a lot of knowledge from the internet these days, and when she knew that her name was written in this way, she was also very angry. It was named by the goddess Nuwa herself. What a great honor, but these fools actually labeled it as such. He wanted to change it, but then he remembered that it was given by the goddess Wa, so it had a special meaning. In the end, he calmed down his anger under Jin Sichin's persuasion and didn't argue with them. But it was impossible to be happy when it was mentioned. Zuping choked. The ugly woman was not a peerless beauty, and she was not even as beautiful as Lin Fan, but she was not ugly at all. So, was this another mistake caused by the cultural differences between ancient and modern times? His Atlantis, his underwater world, he couldn't go there. When Zuping was distracted by his worries, Lin Fan resisted. "Even if you accidentally broke into the shuttle, what does it have to do with me? Why are you blaming me?" Lin Fan felt wronged. She had only been to this place 3 times in total, all for mission support. Why did she seem to be the culprit? She looked at the ugly woman's finger. Zuping, the manager, was clearly behind her, but the finger was clearly pointing at her. That's not right. How could the ugly woman hear Zuping talking? How did you appear on the screen? Lin Fan's question hit everyone's heart again. They all knew that the ugly woman was a figure from thousands of years ago, and her ability to survive in today's society was almost zero. Even the internet was taught to her by Jin Sichin bit by bit. But now she suddenly appeared on the giant screen of the shuttle. How did she connect to the signal? Wu Yusen immediately called Jin Sichin back to the ugly woman. Ever since the Special Affairs Office transformed her living environment and let Jin Sichin, a considerate little white face, come to chat with her every day and teach her various life skills to integrate into modern society, the ugly woman, who was impacted by the explosion of online information, suddenly rushed from the spiritually barren wasteland to the highway. She was extremely happy in the entertainment life of feasting and drinking. She ate, played, slept, chatted with the little white face, and watched a melodrama. The world tree grew well, and the hair that the dead girl had lost finally grew back. The dead girl really missed him, and gave her a long-haired doll that she said looked like her. How did it look like her? The ugly woman looked at the palm-sized puppet with disgust. After thinking about it, she finally put it on the desktop where she used it most every day. Forget it, that girl is thoughtful. I'm generous, and will not bother with her for the time being. The pretty boy wanted to ask about the whereabouts of the shuttle several times, but was scared away by her cold face. It's not that this thing is really that important. Anyway, no one can open it without her authority. It's not impossible to tell them the location. It's not that she looks down on these fools. Even if they go in, they can only worship. After all, the difference in strength is there. But the shuttle, the shame of the ugly woman, even if thousands of years have passed, Kuafu can't even find his ashes. She will still be unhappy when she thinks of this thing. It's as if she is reminding herself invisibly how stupid she was at the beginning. But she is not an unkind person. Look, in an equal exchange, the part of the unlocked content of the world tree was given to the pretty boy. They took it away, as if it were a treasure, and it seemed to work. The last time the pretty boy watched the live broadcast of the launch at her place, he said that it was the technological power obtained from the technology tree. When she heard it, she also paid attention to watch it carefully. Well, how should I put it? It's not as good as she thought. But seeing that the pretty boy and the people in the video were very excited, these guys are still far behind. Jin Sichin's efforts were finally recognized by the ugly girl, or maybe the ugly girl couldn't stand their joy for a little progress. From time to time, she would leak some things from the world tree to Jin Sichin, so that they could quickly push the development of technology back on track. Everything was fine. That day, she was eating hot pot and singing in the cave, watching the latest ghost videos. Jin Sichin, who had just left in the morning, came back again, holding a mobile phone, and asked her if she recognized the words on it. The ugly girl scanned it casually. Yes, how could I not recognize it? This is a text they used in ancient times. The ugly girl became excited and asked him where he saw it, thinking that he had discovered some other relics. As a result, after sliding a few photos, the more she looked, the more familiar it looked. Isn't this the photo in her shuttle? After asking Jin Sichin again, he looked at the map. Well, these guys have found the ancient ruins a long time ago, and have been digging for several months. That's right, the hiding place of the shuttle is right below the temple where the tribe gathered at the beginning. The temple is full of mechanisms, and everyone thought it was to protect the treasures in the temple. Little did they know that there was such a huge monster hidden deep underground. Kuafu didn't think of it at first. When he realized it, the ugly woman had been sealed underground, and even the stone door couldn't be opened. The ugly woman was not afraid that the shuttle would be damaged underground, nor was she afraid of someone accidentally breaking in. The stone door outside the shuttle was as heavy as 1,000 pounds. In this world, except for her who was granted authority by Nuwa, it was impossible for anyone to open it easily, and naturally she couldn't start the shuttle. Then how did Lin Fan get in? I heard that she opened the door with just a light touch. Jin Sichin also felt strange. The last time Lin Fan went there, it was said that it took a lot of effort to break the stone door. Why did it become so easy this time? This is one of the reasons why no one pushed the ship towards the shuttle. After all, Lin Fan has nothing to do with the shuttle, and everyone thought it was Xingqian's fault. The ugly woman blinked and slapped her thigh. The damn girl must have been, because she secretly absorbed the energy of the world tree. At the beginning, Xingqian's body was numb, and she couldn't control it. She leaned against the world tree for a long time. During this time, her outer armor scratched the bark of the world tree and shook off half of the leaves of the tree. The ugly woman was nervous about the world tree at that time. Even though she saw some leaves merged into Xingqian's body and knew that she absorbed the energy of the world tree, she thought that the time was short, and how much could she absorb? It was just a little. So she didn't care much later. Now think about it, the damn girl clearly absorbed a lot of energy. The leaves can blend into the stars because they have the energy of the world tree in their bodies and are recognized as the origin by the leaves. If there is only a little energy, how can it be recognized as the origin? The shuttle and the world tree are originally of the same origin. The energy absorbed by the dead girl made the shuttle believe that she also had control authority. The ugly woman slapped her thighs several times. This dead girl. She actually took advantage of the world tree right under her nose. It's really no wonder she later felt that the world tree grew very slowly after half of its leaves were bald. I thought it was because the growth rate was slow after the outbreak period, but it turned out that the energy was taken away by this dead girl. New and old hatreds came together. The ugly woman looked at the long-haired doll that Lin Fan gave her on the table and felt that it was annoying. She threw it away and started to connect. The roots of the world tree have spread very widely. Where it is, communication is more convenient than a signal tower. Before Jin Sichin could react, the screen on the super large laser TV had already shown a silver white space screen and a familiar figure with his head down. The ugly woman started cursing on the spot. That's the reason. When I wrote the world tree, you still remember it. Xingqian was electrified and absorbed the energy of the world tree. At the same time, the energy of the world tree also relieved Xingqian's numbness and helped repair her body. Otherwise, she would not have recovered at that time and would have been killed by the ugly woman. It was just such a coincidence. I thought about it at that time. So Lin Fan can drive a spaceship, and that's how she got the authority. The world tree is a biological server, the same origin as a shuttle. The ugly woman got its control and use authority, and Lin Fan got part of its energy. After integrating into the body, it is equivalent to a small branch of the world tree. That's probably what it means. Hehe. Chapter 470 Chatting and Flirting. So the accusation of the ugly woman was not wrong. If it weren't for Lin Fan, the people from the Special Affairs Office would have no way to get in from outside the shuttle. They could only face the dark wall, trying to get in, but they couldn't find the way, so they finally gave up and sealed this place, not to mention discovering the things inside. A step back, if it weren't for Xingqian, they couldn't even break the outermost stone door. That was the high-tech material that Nuwa got from the spacecraft, and the ugly woman didn't have the ability to destroy it. Going further, if Xingqian hadn't discovered Jianjing, they would not have been so persistent in finding Hengju, and would not have dug 3 feet into the ground. Even if they accidentally discovered this ancient site during the rescue, they might have just regarded it as an ancient relic from an unknown dynasty. If you put it that way, it is indeed inseparable from Lin Fan. Lin Fan was silent. There was no way to refute it at all. Since it is a shuttle, there shouldn't be any danger inside, right? The ugly woman was not a stingy person, and she responded readily, no. At least there was no danger when she left last time. Although the shuttle was involved in her dark history, since it had already been discovered, there was no point in hiding it. And from the information sent by Jin Sichin, Lin Fan had already gone through most of it. Even if she didn't say anything, the investigation would be completed quickly. This kind of difficulty was meaningless, and she didn't bother to do it. Besides, the Special Affairs Office was very considerate, and she had been very comfortable recently. Under the indoctrination of countless documentaries, the ugly woman deeply learned the spirit of equality and freedom, and could understand the hard work of the grassroots staff. She felt that there was no need to torment people for such a small matter. As for Lin Fan, the ugly woman gritted her teeth secretly, and it seemed that there was nothing she could do to her. Originally, she was thinking about waiting for her mana to recover, and then find her chance to teach this dead girl a lesson, so that she would know who was more powerful. But now, whether she could beat him or not was another matter. Lin Fan had a lot of world tree energy integrated into his body, which was equivalent to a branch of the world tree. As the guardian of the world tree, the ugly woman naturally couldn't do it. After learning that the shuttle environment was safe, everyone cheered. Zuping immediately organized several groups, each with its own researchers. As for Lin Fan, there was no need to continue exploring alone, unless she wanted to. Lin Fan didn't want to. Since there was no danger, the results of her continued exploration would not be as great as those of any professional team member. At least they could do all kinds of professional things, but she could only carry a camera, and was not as professional as them in shooting videos. Moreover, a day and a half had passed, and she was indeed feeling tired. Since it was safe and someone else was taking over, what was she worried about? She returned directly. She didn't know how to use the elevator, so she humbly asked the ugly woman how to use it correctly. She was inevitably ridiculed by the ugly woman again, but she still told her how to use it. It took Lin Fan nearly 30 hours to run through so many places, but it only took less than 10 minutes. She met many staff members along the way, and they all smiled and nodded to her. The beast at the door had been taken away long ago. Wu Yusen was waiting outside, and when he saw Lin Fan coming out, he immediately helped her. This support seemed to have helped all the fatigue out of her body. Minister Lin, who was walking vigorously, suddenly felt that he could not walk anymore. Wu Yusen took the box from her hand and handed it to the staff next to him. He looked at Lin Fan with amusement and saw that Lin Fan became depressed in a second. He helped him to sit down lovingly. Zuping was still chatting with the ugly woman. After Lin Fan left the cab, the ugly woman wanted to leave. Zuping saw that it was not possible and immediately praised her in various ways, and she was so happy that she stayed again. Who doesn't like compliments? Even though she thought this guy was very oily, the ugly woman still chatted with Zuping. This is a completely different style from the pretty boy. The ugly woman looked at Zuping, who was pretending to be cool on the screen, and she had a curiosity to open a blind box. I don't know how she operated it, but she instantly switched to the big screen in front of Zuping. The picture originally transmitted by Lin Fan's camera was completely replaced. Fortunately, Lin Fan is retreating now, and the camera is not very useful, otherwise they will be anxious to death. Lin Fan sat on a chair nearby, watching Zuping and the ugly woman chatting happily, just like two netizens meeting in person. To be honest, from what Lin Fan heard, Zuping's tone was a little greasy. When talking to the ugly woman, it always felt a bit like picking up girls. But the ugly woman didn't know whether she heard it or just liked it. Anyway, she was very happy. Men's mouth. She was sighing, and a cup of warm water appeared in front of her. She looked up and saw that it was John Woo. Lin Fan smiled awkwardly, pretending to say something, and took up the cup of water to drink it in one gulp. John Woo also felt that Zuping was disgusting, but he had no right to say anything. After all, the last time he faced the ugly woman, he was almost killed. So it doesn't matter if the trick is good or bad, as long as it works. The two hid in a place where the camera couldn't see, watching Zuping's greasy and subtle words. Lin Fan ate and drank to replenish his energy, and did not forget to use his mobile phone to contact Jin Sichin, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. John Woo was on the side to help pass things. I dare not talk directly on the phone, for fear that the ugly woman would hear and ruin Zuping's good deeds. Hardworking Minister Lin, when did you leave? The most handsome man in the world. I left a long time ago, when Zuping made his grandmother laugh for the first time. Hardworking Minister Lin, I thought you were watching over there, waiting to make up for Zuping. The most handsome man in the world. How is that possible? I'm so sensible. How could I be a light bulb next to you? I left long ago. Hardworking Minister Lin, not a light bulb, right? The most handsome man in the world. When you chat with the opposite sex, do you hope that there is another person of the opposite sex sitting next to you? Can you chat freely? Hardworking Minister Lin, what's the matter? When I chat with a group of you, there is nothing I can't let go of. Jin Sichin also remembered, after she reminded him. Lin Fan is a fool. She seems to have always had this attitude, that there is nothing that cannot be said to others. As long as it does not involve confidentiality, she will not avoid talking to anyone. But obviously, the scene they are talking about this time is different. The most handsome man in the world. Honesty is indeed a very good quality, but not everyone has it. Please keep it up. Hardworking Minister Lin. Oh, are you praising me? Happy, smiling face, heart. They were chatting animatedly, and Lin Fan had completely forgotten about Zuping's situation, but Wu Yusen couldn't do that. In addition to feeding from time to time, he had been listening attentively to the movements over there. Zuping got a lot of information out of him. For example, the Hengju they had been looking for. The ugly woman said she didn't know about that thing. Longevity is an innate ability of all sons of gods, and does not require the assistance of other things. As long as other sons of gods don't take action, they can live forever. Zuping was disappointed and asked again that, since there was no Hengju, what about Yanjing? The ugly woman said she didn't know, and that she could show her the thing when she had a chance. Let's talk about the magma under the shuttle. That was indeed the thermal energy device brought up by Noah to maintain the power of the shuttle. As for why it was exposed, it was probably because the crustal movement over the years caused the rock mass to shift, and the magma that was originally directly below the shuttle deviated a little, but it was not a big problem. Zuping thought about the many faults that appeared in the channel, and felt that this inference was reasonable. I don't know if Zuping really won the favor of the ugly woman, or if the ugly woman had the intention of no longer concealing anything. She almost answered every question and responded to every request. Even when Zuping asked if he could learn the unfamiliar characters on the shuttle, the ugly woman not only said yes, but also told him that he could convert them into characters they knew through the world tree. This is great news. Zuping immediately offered all kinds of compliments. Lin Fan looked at the ugly woman on the screen, who was laughing so hard that she was shaking with laughter. She no longer looked like the calm goddess she used to be. Looking at Zuping, whose floral shirt had been unbuttoned to his belly button, revealing a large area of muscular muscles, I always felt that something was weird. Haha, if someone praises me, even if I don't believe it, I will still be happy in my heart. Hahaha. Chapter 471, coming one after another. The news of the shuttle's discovery spread quickly. When Lin Fan returned to the ground, he saw several groups of people in the camp. On the way back, he saw many equipment vehicles driving towards this side. Are they from our institute? Lin Fan asked. Some are from our institute, but most of them should be 800 cars. Wu Yusen rarely sat in the passenger seat. Lin Fan deprived him of his driving rights on the grounds that he had not slept all night. Wu Yusen had never seen Lin Fan drive before, and he was a little worried at first. As a result, after Lin Fan became familiar with the condition of the Prado, she drove steadily and fast, not like someone who had not touched the steering wheel for several years. Wu Yusen saw her switching gears very smoothly and confirmed that the person in front of him was undoubtedly a hidden veteran driver. Oh, 800 is the one who studies this. Lin Fan realized belatedly that 800 was not far away. No wonder they came so quickly. Will they take over here later? Generally speaking, the later distribution of tasks will be transferred to more professional units according to their nature. For example, the two suspicious people they found before were handed over to other units. The nature of the current shuttle is more inclined towards aerospace technology, and it should be taken over by 800. No, the director will not give up such a big fruit easily. Wu Yusen lowered his chair and closed his eyes and answered. We worked hard to dig out such a big thing, and we just gave it away. How is it possible? That's right. Lin Fan felt a little sorry just now. This place has been dug by the Special Affairs Office for more than half a year, since the beginning of the year. It goes without saying how much manpower and resources have been invested. If the shuttle is given to 800 so easily and all her staff withdraw, not to mention ZHU Kunjin, Lin Fan feels that it is inappropriate. Now that she knows that she will not withdraw, she feels happy. Then Chief CUI will definitely not give in easily, so there is a fight now. Since CUI Yan's behavior at the South Island launch base last time changed her mind, she no longer calls CUI Yan by his name. Lin Fan is not a very smart person, but at least she knows how to recognize him. Of course, a fierce battle is inevitable. Wu Yusen could imagine the scene with his eyes closed. This is a great achievement. It's not just a matter of honor, but also the funding and voice for next year. But don't our people know much about this? Can the director win? Lin Fan was not very confident. The Special Affairs Institute is good at non-natural sciences, but for this kind of high-tech aerospace, she TSK and felt that it was not easy for the director. Why can't you win? Wu Yusen turned his head, raised his eyelids to look at Lin Fan's profile, and closed it again. To put it bluntly, those people in 800 are useless except for the knowledge in their stomachs. Without our people protecting them, these people can ruin themselves. Wu Yusen sneered. They are weak and easily pushed down, which is how to describe them. Is it so exaggerated? Lin Fan recalled. In her mind, are the people in 800 so fragile? But she had been staying inside 623 at the beginning, and she was in contact with Song Ren and other high-quality personnel. Later, they were released, and the reserve team members they came into contact with were equivalent to special combat readiness personnel, and their physical fitness was relatively high. As for the others, Lin Fan thought about it carefully. Deputy Director Z was not mentioned, because he was too old. Team Leader Yu, Dr. Zhao, Kuang Li, Zhang Wenji, Xiajing, and others all seemed to be the thin and weak type. They couldn't be said to be fragile, but they did not feel the type that was very strong. Not to mention Wu Yi, a little girl, chubby, and didn't look like she had exercised much. Only Wenbin was a little muscular, but that was compared to the above few people. If compared with GU, he was like a chicken. Not to mention those backbones who she had never seen, who devoted themselves to scientific research in the laboratory. Of course, there were such people in the Special Affairs Office. Wenji and others were also thin civilians. But they didn't go out on field trips. On the contrary, those assembly personnel who transferred from the military were indeed better than the researchers. However, they have been in an environment with relatively suitable air and temperature for a long time, and they have only focused on assembly and maintenance work. They have formed a certain inertia for things, and cannot quickly adapt to different harsh environments. The shuttle cannot be moved out at present, because of the pressure of magma and the top rock. So the only way is for the researchers to come and go deep into the ground for a search. This is not like what is shown in the movie. No matter whether you are male or female, young or old, you just need to go down the road. As mentioned before, due to the relationship between geothermal heat and the upward movement of magma, the temperature outside the shuttle is actually very high. Although the shuttle has been blocked to a certain extent, it feels terrible compared to the laboratory with constant temperature and humidity, and there is always an indescribable smell in the air. The people in the Special Affairs Office have been used to it for a long time. Lin Fan has done several missions with Wu Yusen and can adapt to such an environment to some extent. But it is hard to say for those researchers who have stayed in the constant temperature laboratory for a long time. What's more, this discovery is significant, and I heard that many older researchers are coming. They are relatively old and their physical fitness is not very good. Wu Yusen could think of Zhu Ping's troubled life in the later period and expressed his sympathy in his heart and silently wished him well. Lin Fan heard what he said so terribly and shed a tear of sympathy for the 800 people, hoping that they would not be too sad. By the way, will Song Ren and the others come? Lin Fan asked, but there was no response. She turned her head and saw that Wu Yusen seemed to have fallen asleep with his eyes closed. She lowered the temperature of the air conditioner by a few degrees and turned down the music. She put on the Bluetooth headset and called Song Ren. After a few rings, the phone was connected. Song Ren said that they were not assigned a mission, but they all knew about the discovery of the shuttle. Oh, it spread so quickly? Lin Fan thought that such news needed to be kept confidential. Because there are too many departments involved, there are many people to be deployed, so it is impossible to keep it confidential. Moreover, news of this level does not need to be kept confidential internally. Song Ren smiled. Wenbin and Zhang Zhaoji from our group have gone, and I heard that Xiaojing is going too. Are they here? Lin Fan said regretfully. I didn't see them. Maybe they haven't arrived yet. Maybe they're in one of the cars. Song Ren looked at the time and said, it's a great thing to find the shuttle this time. I heard that it's very advanced. As deputies he said, if we can all learn it, human technological progress will take several steps forward. Really? That's really good. Lin Fan was also happy. I hope that soon we can also imitate the shuttle and make the same aircraft. Although the shuttle was empty and almost nothing was left, Lin Fan still keenly felt the power of technology in it during his exploration. Technology is always the primary productive force. A technologically powerful country, in the near future, country H will fly right up to the spot. A technologically powerful country, D, let the technology grow, otherwise we won't be able to defeat it when we look back. Chapter 472, Stupid Move. Not long after Lin Fan returned to the Special Affairs Office, she heard gossip from Wang Fengfeng. It was said that Zhu Ping sold his body to make the ugly woman happy. Not only did he get the operating instructions of the shuttle, but he also translated it into H language. Lin Fan's mind flashed with the scene of Zhu Ping lying in the arms of the ugly woman with a coquettish look, and goosebumps instantly appeared. Is it really necessary to sacrifice so much? She didn't dare to ask Zhu Ping, so she could only run to ask John Woo. John Woo smiled strangely and said that she was overthinking it. The two of them were hundreds of kilometers apart. What kind of body could they sell? At best, it was just a flirtation. Lin Fan thought it was right, so she dared to send a text message to Zhu Ping to ask what was going on. Zhu Ping also laughed and said that it was not the case. The little skin he showed to the screen was not as much as when he was swimming. It was just that his words were superb, and he won the favor of the ugly woman. Lin Fan didn't know what she was worried about, but she was relieved after all. Suddenly, I felt that I couldn't believe everything Wang Fengfeng said, and I began to doubt the gossip he had told me before. But Jin Sichen raised his eyebrows when he knew that Zhu Ping boasted about his excellent words. Because the ugly woman was keen on chatting with Zhu Ping recently, Jin Sichen finally had some free time. Seeing his expression, Lin Fan suddenly asked, "Are you jealous?" Jin Sichen sneered and stretched out his hand to mess up Lin Fan's hair. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Lin Fan quickly pulled her head out of his clutches and tied her hair again. "Then why are you unhappy?" "Miss, which eye of yours saw that I'm unhappy?" Jin Sichen showed a standard smile, but it couldn't fool Lin Fan. Every eye saw it. Lin Fan moved to the side, fearing that his tied hair would be messed up again. Jin Sichen finally retracted his fake smile and said helplessly, "Is it fun for you to chat with the sleeping grandma every day?" The ugly woman now seemed to be easy to talk to, which was the result of Jin Sichen's full efforts. He has not forgotten the miserable state of Wu Yusen and his friends. A high-end psychologist can make everyone feel that they are close friends with him. But in fact, everyone knows that a person's energy is limited, and no one can really treat everyone as a good friend in his heart. The ugly woman is not Lin Fan. She lives in the age of gods. She looks straightforward, but in fact, she despises human life to the extreme. She is not like Khan Leo and his friends. In the long years, she has accumulated some emotions for the secular world. She slept for thousands of years and woke up in the present. Not only does her thinking and habits remain in the primitive society, but her heart is still full of tricks. The ugly woman is not stupid, but she lacks common sense of modern life. Compared with her, Lin Fan can be regarded as a big fool. Olin Dash narrowed his eyes, pointed his index finger at him, and teased narrowly, "You deceived grandma's feelings." Jin Sichen slapped her hand unhappily. "That's not the case. I don't know how honest I'm to people." Lin Fan touched his finger that was hurt by the beating, looked at his fake smile, and didn't know how to complain. Of course, Jin Sichen didn't dare to deceive the feelings of the female clown. He did become a good friend to a certain extent with her, but he couldn't let down his guard completely in his heart. After all, the female clown and Lin Fan are different. Speaking of which, is it really okay to let Zhu Ping tease her like this? Wu Yusen asked, glancing at the back of Lin Fan's red hand. They found an open place for a picnic in the grove outside Zhuoyao Mountain today. Wu Yusen didn't know where he got a very ceremonial plaid cloth and spread it on the lawn, which was filled with food packed from the cafeteria. He took out the things little by little and covered the plaid cloth. He was so hardworking that Lin Fan wanted to give him a prize. Jin Sichen had been in the female clown cave for too long. It was hard to rest and wanted to get close to nature. But now it was mid-July, and the nature outside was too hot to get close to. In order not to disappoint Jin Sichen, Lin Fan proposed to have a picnic here. In a few minutes, it was equivalent to nature. So there was such a thing. Seeing that Wu Yusen began to protect her, Jin Sichen's mouth curled up, and she fell back, lying on the grass, with her hands behind her head, looking at the artificial blue sky. "It's better than nothing. What's the matter?" Lin Fan took the coke he handed over, took a sip, and asked gossipingly. If Wang Fengfeng hadn't been busy today, he would definitely not miss such a good gossip scene. Wu Yusen also poured a drink for Jin Sichen, put it in front of him, and then replied. "Dare to chat with the ugly woman like this. I admire Zhu Ping for being a warrior. He is afraid that, if Zhu Ping really talks to the ugly woman, he will have to ask you to put out the fire." Jin Sichen's voice came. "Ah." Lin Fan didn't understand. What kind of fire can there be? Flirting with horseflies, she knows. Isn't this a matter of mutual consent? Ugly girl, sister. Jin Sichen turned over and lay on her side, supporting the ground with one arm, trying to get his drink. Imagine that you go and talk to old Kyan about horseflies, and senior brother can do the same. Lin Fan instinctively stepped back, her face stiff. Not to mention these two people, she wanted to run away when she saw a black cat now. Jin Sichen looked at her and smiled. "See, that's it. It's not that big guys don't deserve to have feelings, but talking about feelings in such an obviously unequal situation is nonsense. Zhu Ping and the ugly girl are in this situation now. Zuping's beginning was obviously purposeful. The ugly girl seemed to know it and went with the flow. Because the method worked, Zuping could only continue to maintain this mode of communication. But it has always been difficult to define the sense of boundaries when talking about horse fleas. Zuping knew in his heart that it was all fake, but no one could guard against the ugly girl taking it seriously. Who is the ugly girl? Or 1,000-year-old grandmother, an ancient guardian god? The big guy who almost killed Lin Fan. A woman's heart is like a needle in the sea. If this person turns against her, the consequences are hard to predict. If at that time, Zuping can solve the problem by just paying with his body, then the consequences will be very light. What should we do then? Lin Fan's hand was no longer fragrant, and he asked worriedly, isn't Zuping in danger now? It's okay at the moment. The ugly woman obviously treats Zuping as a toy and teases him. Jin Sichin would check the latest updates of the ugly woman every day to prevent her from losing control. Lin Fan thought about Zuping's appearance as a playboy of the seeking at that time. So he was the one being teased? That move of his was really. Jin Sichin pouted and shook her head. When Zuping started to flirt, he was still with the ugly woman. Seeing that he used a stupid move, he wanted to slap his head. He wanted to change the subject, but the ugly woman accepted it. He couldn't continue to interfere. Is it bad? Lin Fan felt that Zuping had made a great contribution to getting so much information. Just look at the 800 people who rushed over. Even she, who knew nothing, thought the situation was very good. It's true that the situation is good, but his move was a stupid one. Jin Sichin curled his lips in disdain. I got the information, but I got myself into it. Now I have to think about how to get him out of it. It would be best if the ugly woman despised him and ignored him first, so Zuping would retreat naturally. Otherwise, as long as the ugly woman wanted, Zuping's enthusiasm could not be reduced. At least he couldn't be discovered by the ugly woman. This is not an ordinary online love. You can just disconnect the network if you don't agree. Flirting with the ugly woman will have serious consequences. What's the difference between it and trying to get the skin of a tiger? Wu Yusen also sighed and helped Zuping save the situation. The situation was urgent at the time. Who knew that the ugly woman would actually fall for it? Lin Fan suddenly understood. She thought Zuping was a little greasy at the time. He was not like that usually. It turned out that he did it on purpose. As a result, this deliberate act did not dissuade the ugly woman from retreating, but instead her curiosity soared, and she stuck to him directly. Poor Zuping. I wonder if he regrets it. Let's just say, don't flirt casually. It's not good to get yourself into trouble. Take your relationship seriously. Ha ho ha. Zuping was set up by himself to betray his S-face. Wahaha. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 473 The Plane Returns. Zuping was very proud, or at least he looked very proud. As for the bitterness in his heart, only he knew it. But looking at the bustling scene in the shuttle with people coming and going, he felt it was worth it. If he hadn't used his quick wit at that time, who knows when he would have seen the scene in front of him. Jin Sichin was steady. After a month or so, the progress was only a little bit. In the end, it still depends on him. Zuping grinned, revealing a mouthful of big white teeth, flicked the ash in his hand, and brought it to his mouth, and took a deep puff. It's this follow-up that is indeed a bit troublesome. Although he and the ugly woman seemed to be chatting happily, he reacted after the first connection ended, and made a big mistake. Modern girls have heard this kind of slightly ambiguous words a lot, and most of them know what it is, and they just laugh or spit and let it go. But to some extent, the ugly woman is still a newborn who has just been exposed to this kind of words. Will she think too much? He is not interested in a 1,000-year love affair with an ugly woman. Although Zuping is a bit of a talker, he always knows when to stop, and is definitely not a scum who plays with feelings. Besides, the target is an ugly woman. He dares not do it, right? But now that things have come to this, he can only take one step at a time. Selling sex is a small matter. Special agents like them, as long as they are alive, have made all kinds of sacrifices for the mission. The only thing to worry about is that the ending is not good and it will cause a big disaster. Sigh. Suddenly, he understood why Jin Sichin's progress was so slow. He said that with that guy's appearance and ability, almost all women in the Special Affairs Office, regardless of age, are surrounded by him. Isn't it easy to seduce an ugly woman? Now it seems that he is naive. In the past, Jin Sichin sneered at their special agents for not being smart, and he was not convinced. Now that he thinks about it, it is not completely unreasonable. Moreover, the attitude of the ugly woman made him clearly realize that even an old lady from thousands of years ago should not be underestimated. She knows everything, but pretends to know nothing. The conversation between the two was like a game between the Sea King and the Sea Queen, and he was obviously at a disadvantage and didn't dare to exert his strength. TSK. Zuping put out his cigarette. He shook his head and looked at the thick stack of results he had talked to the ugly woman next to him, and he finally felt relieved. He put his hand on the group of reports and stroked it gently and breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay, the institute will definitely find a way. He just needs to be careful not to touch the minefield. If it doesn't work, he can trouble Lin Fan again. I heard that the ugly woman is afraid of her. In the Special Affairs Institute, Jin Sichin took the lead and formed a group to discuss how to divert the attention of the ugly woman faster. In order to be on the safe side, this situation was specially reported to Lin Fan, Lezing Yuan King, and Lord Kyan Su. Lin Fan didn't know whether the two received it or not. Anyway, she knew that Zuping was not in danger in the short term, but was deeply trapped in an ambiguous tug-of-war. When he needed help from others to get out, he made up his mind to cherish life and stay away from teasing fleas. When Wu Yusen and the others knew about it, they all laughed. After Zuping was relieved this time, he probably wouldn't dare to talk about sex with women for a while. Just when the situation was gradually stabilizing, news came from Country P that their latest giant carrier rocket had failed to launch. Lin Fan remembered that the last time she heard this news was when she was hesitating whether to go to the sky and return to her hometown in Gaocheng. She heard it on TV news. Now it has been more than a month, and her own space shuttle has been circling in the sky for who knows how many times before it was launched. This speed is really unparalleled. Although she complained, she still opened the news and watched it carefully. This rocket is said to use some new technology. The news didn't go into detail, but it was obviously not very good, otherwise it wouldn't have crashed during the launch. When Lin Fan saw that there was no one on board, she breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe she was a saint. Anyway, she really didn't want anyone to die. There were no casualties, and the launch failure was just a loss of money. Country P has money anyway, so let them do whatever they want. Scrolling down to the photo below, the launch team of Country P was actually celebrating with champagne and smiling. Lin Fan flipped to the top again, and it turned out that the launch had failed. Are these people stupid? Looking again, failure is also success. Well, as long as they feel happy. The comment area was still lively, with people saying all kinds of things. Some were celebrating, some were gloating, and some mentioned the space shuttle that Country H had just launched not long ago. Speaking of the space shuttle, Lin Fan counted on her fingers. It seemed that it had been almost 20 days. After she came back, she was so tortured by John Woo that she forgot to pay attention to the plane. She quickly searched the news topic and checked the latest developments. It seemed that everything was stable. Then she thought about the shuttle buried deep underground. Lin Fan was very happy and felt that she would soon leave Country P behind. This echoed countless times. Humph, don't say that science has no boundaries. When they were technologically advanced, they didn't share it with us. There were so many people who took advantage of their misfortunes. Now that our country is about to take off, let them kneel down and look up. She is so petty. 2 days later, the latest mission list came. The space shuttle was going to land in a week, and Lin Fan was still asked to escort it. This time, Lin Fan didn't dare to hide it from Wu Yusen. She went to ask if the mission process was done correctly. Wu Yusen, who had received the news a long time ago and pretended not to know, nodded with satisfaction. The lesson learned last time still worked. Because the rocket launch of P country just failed 2 days ago, the return of the space shuttle attracted a large number of people to watch. A smooth launch, a smooth orbit, and a smooth return are a complete process. The first 2 steps were completed very well, and only this final step was missing. The launch base also attached great importance to it, and sent a mission invitation a week in advance. Lin Fan set off that night. After arriving at Nandao, in order to ensure the stability of the stars, she was sent to do 2 more space missions. One time she followed the space shuttle through the orbit for a few laps, and the other time she helped the Xianting space station deliver some things. After going to space several times, Lin Fan felt more and more comfortable with it, and he unconsciously felt a little proud. Who else could be called flash delivery? The pilots in the space shuttle were not worried at all, because they were escorted by the stars. During the live broadcast, they laughed happier than anyone else. Some people took screenshots of their smiles and compared them with the screenshots of the celebration and laughter after the failed launch of Country P, which attracted a lot of traffic. The sky was clear on the day of the return flight, and the sun was hanging in the sky early, indicating that it would be good weather. The actual return time was in the evening, but countless people began to rejoice in the morning. Lin's father turned on the TV early in the morning. In order to take care of the elderly who could not watch the live broadcast, the TV station specially planned a program for this significant space operation. Invited countless experts and engineers to be interviewed on the program, and occasionally connected to the South Island launch base. Lin's father kept watching the TV, starting from the morning when H country's space development started, and continued until dark, when he began to talk about the distant prospects of space development. Lin's mother also rarely made a fuss, and watched with Lin's father. Although she felt bored after watching it for a while, and closed her eyes for a while, she went to do something else. But such a big thing has been forwarded all over the circle of friends, so Lin's mother still felt very involved. Until the evening, the return time of the space shuttle finally arrived. In the live broadcast, the black and white night vision camera captured a small bright spot. Lin's father took out his reading glasses and looked carefully at the big TV and only saw a small dot. After a while, the bright spot began to grow longer, like a meteor, with a long tail. It's passed through the atmosphere. Lin's father was so excited that he didn't know what to do. He picked up the wine glass on the coffee table and took a sip. Lin's mother didn't understand it, but she heard the emotional voice of the broadcast on TV, and her husband was very happy, so she was happy too. That night, I don't know how many people stared at the TV, and how many people stared at their mobile phones. Although the picture from the ground camera was not very clear, everyone stared at it so infatuatedly, from a blurry little dot to gradually seeing the shape of the aircraft, sliding down steadily, and getting bigger and bigger. As it got closer and closer to the ground, the landing gear opened, and hit the ground heavily, as if hitting everyone's heart. Smoke and dust rose up, and a huge parachute unfolded behind the plane, pulling the speeding plane. On the screen, where no sound could be heard, everyone seemed to hear the harsh sound of emergency brakes. Until the TV host shouted success, the world was boiling. The people on TV were cheering, the launch base was cheering, countless people were cheering at home, in the company, and even on the street. John Woo glanced at the space shuttle that had stopped not far away, turned around and handed a cup of hot cocoa to Lin Fan, who had just retreated from the Mecha, and was wrapped in a thermal blanket by the staff, and said with a smile, "Thank you for your hard work. I almost forgot that the space shuttle was still in the sky," and hurried him down. Haha. Behind the success of a thing, there are countless invisible people who have made contributions. Thank you to the unsung heroes. I cried when I wrote about the plane landing. When can I see this scene? 555. Chapter 474 Space Fever. This space craze lasted for a long time. Whether it was ordinary people, students, office workers, or even the grandpa and aunt in the park, they were all discussing it enthusiastically. Gao subway station even specially renovated the Space Museum station, making it very sci-fi. Even Lin Fan dragged John Woo to see the excitement. This wave of enthusiasm also boosted the sales of telescopes and astronomical books. The official also took this opportunity to launch several special programs, and even the Xianting was interacting and giving space lessons. The entire country from top to bottom, has a great momentum of advocating aerospace technology, and even the number of fresh graduates applying for related majors has increased a lot. Gao Observatory is crowded every day. In order not to disappoint tourists, it rarely opens night tours. This move undoubtedly attracted a large wave of popularity. You know, the observatory has high-power telescopes. Although the telescope is also open to the audience during the day, the stargazing effect is of course better at night. Although most people can't really tell whether the flickering and moving things in the sky are stars or aircraft, they can't stand the excitement. Observatories in various provinces and cities were at ED by netizens, and they all followed Gao and launched night tour projects. A large number of spectators poured in, and the learning atmosphere was unprecedented. But relatively speaking, the staff had less time to observe. The near-Earth telescope of the observatory is a very large electronic device. It is usually hidden in the highest hemispherical roof of the observatory. When observation is needed, the hemispherical roof opens to both sides, revealing a huge lens. It is from here that the staff looks into the space, observes celestial bodies, and captures celestial information. With the development of science and technology, telescopes have also gone through several generations of changes. Now they can not only observe celestial bodies, but also observe electromagnetic waves, cosmic rays, etc. Because the installation of near-Earth telescopes has specific geographical requirements, such telescopes are only available in observatories across the country. The staff of the observatory also shouldered the task of celestial body observation, often looking at the universe and stars in the night sky. Which satellite has deviated from its orbit? Where is the meteor shower group coming from? These are all what they observed and reported to the higher authorities, so that ordinary people can know through the radio and television departments. Of course, this information can only be understood by professionals. Ordinary people would just lean over, look through the positioned eyepiece, and exclaim wow when they see the colorful planets in the night sky that have been magnified countless times, and whose names they cannot pronounce. When the observation time is over, they will quickly get down from their positions and let the people waiting in line behind them continue to watch. I will quickly post an article about my stargazing experience, find a few beautiful star maps and post them online, and then brag to my friends and express my feelings. Perfect. Lin Fan is not interested in this, but Wang Fengfeng wants to see it. This otaku rarely wants to get some fresh air on the ground, and for the sake of his good fortune-telling friend, Lin Fan can't say no. Looking at John Woo again, with his usual gentle smile. I want him to see the starry sky that I have seen. Thinking of this, Lin Fan nodded. Wang Fengfeng was happy, jumping up and down like a live monkey. I originally wanted to invite Jin Sichen, but he was not free, so the three of us had to go together. It's called a night tour. Of course it's impossible to really wait until dark before going out. In the evening, the sun had just set, and the steaming heat began to subside. Wu Yusen drove the Prado, and took the two of them off. Wang Fengfeng sat in the back seat, still not changing his talkative nature, and kept chattering. Somehow, Lin Fan suddenly remembered that when they first met, she thought he was a shy person. Looking back, she must have had some misunderstanding about shyness. First, they went to the mall to have a good meal, and then went to the observatory leisurely. The temperature was acceptable on a night in mid-July, and the observatory was built on the mountain, so there was a cool breeze from time to time, which was very comfortable. Of course, it would be even better if there were no mosquitoes. Pa. Lin Fan slapped her arm again, and when she spread her hands, she saw the body of a mosquito. Trying to suck my blood. She shook her hand to get rid of the mosquito body, and Wu Yusen handed her a wet towel to wipe her hands. I didn't expect that. I didn't bring anything to repel mosquitoes. Wu Yusen is a very careful person, but he is a man after all. He had never been to the observatory before, and since it was not a mission, he had not learned much about it. When he saw Lin Fan hitting a mosquito, he realized the omission. It's okay, no mosquito can get away alive after touching me anyway. Lin Fan didn't care. She was wearing long pants today, so she just needed to pay attention to the exposed parts such as arms and neck. With her hand speed, hitting a mosquito was like using a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. It was not troublesome to hit it, but the body was left in the palm of her hand, and she had to wipe her hands. It was good that Wu Yusen provided wet wipes in time. She was almost 40 years old, and she didn't even think about repelling mosquitoes. How could she blame others for not thinking carefully? People should not be too excessive, and it was not a big deal. Why do mosquitoes bite you and not us? Wang Fengfeng also wore his brown sunglasses on the way up the mountain in not very good lighting conditions. Lin Fan was afraid that he couldn't see the stairs clearly through the glasses, and couldn't help but think that Jin Sichin didn't come. Was there really something wrong? Wasn't it that he couldn't take off the sunglasses, but was afraid that he couldn't see the road clearly? Maybe it's because I have type B blood. Lin Fan also wanted to know the answer. Mosquitoes have loved biting her since she was a child. In the summer, if she doesn't use toilet water as perfume, she will have red spots all over her body and face. Sometimes when she encounters a poisonous mosquito, the red spot will swell up so big that it won't go away for several days, and she has to go to the hospital to get medicine. In the past few years, she didn't go out, avoiding the possibility of being bitten. In recent years, she has stayed in places with good environments such as 800 and the Special Affairs Office, and she almost forgot that mosquitoes like to bite her. It is said that type B blood is more popular with mosquitoes. Wu Yusen initially thought if mosquitoes sucked Lin Fan's blood, would they mutate and become Mecha mosquitoes? 623 had also done experiments a long time ago, feeding mosquitoes with Lin Fan's blood samples, and all of them exploded and died. It can be seen that the energy in the blood is not something these creatures can withstand. But I also have type B blood. Wang Fengfeng felt that he was treated unfairly. He was wearing a short t-shirt and shorts today, and his long and thin limbs were all exposed. Along the way, I saw Lin Fan hitting mosquitoes, but he didn't feel anything at all. Look at your sweat hair, it's almost woven into a net. Mosquitoes can't get through your protection, and can't touch your skin with their mouths. Lin Fan turned around and smiled. Wang Fengfeng's sweat hair is different from his delicate appearance. It's very dense. At least the amount of hair exposed on his arms and legs is amazing. It's a bit exaggerated to say that it looks like woolen pants, but it's no exaggeration to say that it sets up a layer of protection to keep mosquitoes away. What about Anchor? He has no sweat hair. Wang Fengfeng couldn't refute it and threw the question to John Wu. John Wu raised his arm. Under the dim light, the tightness of the muscles seemed to be transmitted to the surface of the skin, giving people a feeling that even if mosquitoes come, they can't get through the skin. He rolled up his sleeves, showed Wang Fengfeng his strong biceps, and said with a smile, "I'm not type B blood." Wang Fengfeng pouted and looked at his hairy thin arms and legs. Oh, Anchor Bullers Yin. Chapter 475, Queuing for Stargazing. When things are just starting to take off, they are always the hottest. Lin Fan still remembers that there was a small market near the house she rented in Gao. Across a small road, there was a steamed bun shop diagonally opposite. It was just a small storefront, 1.5 meters wide, and the stainless steel steaming table could only be placed outside the store door, which could hold 3 large steamers side by side. Inside was the operating table, where a group of aunts were kneading and cutting dough, rolling them into round steamed buns, and placing them one by one in the steamers next to them. You can see the end at a glance. Such a small steamed bun shop with no technical content actually attracted a lot of people when it opened. It may be related to the food program that was being broadcast on TV at the time, which introduced a yellow steamed bun. This shop sells 2 kinds of steamed buns, yellow corn steamed buns and light brown coarse grain steamed buns. In fact, it is not the same as the small pointed steamed buns with a hole at the bottom on TV. Instead, it is big, plump and soft. But the steamed buns in Gao are usually small and thin. The fat steamed buns that can't be wrapped in one hand are really rare. In addition, when the steamer is opened, the steam wafts out with a faint sweet smell, which is hard not to attract attention. Lin Fan took advantage of the convenience of living nearby and lined up to buy a few on the second day when the store just opened when there were not many people. The big steamed buns cost 50 cents each, which are bigger than the 1.5 yuan buns and are more convenient to hold. Lin Fan smelled the fragrance from the bag and couldn't help but take one out before she got home and took a bite standing on the side of the road. It was the first time she had eaten that kind of soft and chewy complex taste. The faint sweetness of corn and the fragrance of wheat flour made her want to take another bite. The firm and slightly elastic chewiness was even more rare. In this way, Lin Fan ate a steamed bun that was bigger than her fist on the side of the road, and she was still reluctant to eat it after eating it. It's so delicious. She felt like she had discovered a treasure shop and decided to use this as her staple food in the future and save on rice. She bought it several times in succession, and the line got longer and longer. When she wanted to buy it again a week later, there was a long line in front of the store. Lin Fan had just become addicted to it, and she was very greedy, so she queued for more than half an hour. Seeing that people in front of her were buying baskets of steamed buns, she followed suit. Finally, she knew why everyone had been waiting for so long. Later, maybe everyone in this area knew that the steamed buns in this shop were delicious, and the line became longer and longer, as long as 300 or 400 meters, and even stretched onto the road. Even the traffic police came to maintain order. Lin Fan considered herself not such a foodie, but was frightened by such a line, and did not buy anything for a long time. What happened next? Wang Fengfeng was also busy with his ice cream in his mouth. Later, Lin Fan thought for a while. About 1 or 2 months later, there were no more people queuing up, and basically you could buy it. But for some reason, I felt that the steamed buns were not as delicious as before. Lin Fan looked at the long queue in front of her, and then looked at the crowd behind her that could not be seen at the end, and inevitably thought of the long queue for buying steamed buns. It was a pity that she could choose not to buy it at the beginning, and smiled at those people queuing up. But now, she was in the queue, waiting with Wang Fengfeng stupidly. Are you saying that the quality of the steamed bun shop has deteriorated after making enough money? Wang Fengfeng felt that he had grasped the point. She said that we can wait 2 months and come back. There will definitely not be so many people queuing up by then. Wu Yusen understood Lin Fan's point. If it were normal, he would not queue up in such a long queue, right? It was such a waste of life. So your life is boring? Wang Fengfeng waved the ice cream spoon and looked down on the man and woman in front of him. What are we here to see? Isn't it a planet? Lin Fan felt that Wang Fengfeng and he were no longer on the same channel. Isn't it just to look at the famous telescope that I accompanied him out at night? What else can I see? Wrong. I'm looking at the human world. Wang Fengfeng spread her hands and made a gesture of embracing the world with a psychedelic expression on her face. Lin Fan couldn't help but take a step back. Others won't think he's crazy, right? She leaned back and asked Wu Yusen quietly. Wu Yusen chuckled. No, there are young people around and they are more tolerant. Besides, there are many people who are more eccentric than him. Lin Fan looked around, and it was true. Most of the people in the queue were relatively young. Speaking of which, the older ones couldn't come either. Either they were working overtime to support their families, or they couldn't stay up late and rested at home. The young people each had a mobile phone in their hands. Most of them were holding it and watching, without saying a word. The light from the mobile phone screen shone on their faces, making their faces bright, which was a bit weird in the dim outdoor light. There were also a few people doing live broadcasts in the team. Their equipment was ready, and there was a circular light on the top of the mobile phone holder, which illuminated them clearly. The anchors dressed up beautifully, holding the stand, and talking to their phones. The voices were not too loud. There were not many people like them who did not play with their phones, but just chatted quietly. Wang Fengfeng usually dealt with these electronic devices every day. It was rare for him to go out with his friends, so of course he would not touch these things again. Lin Fan didn't like playing with her phone in the first place. She would rather chat with Wang Fengfeng about gossip than look at such a small screen. Wu Yusen could play mobile games, but with his friends present, what was he doing holding his phone alone? So for various reasons, the three of them became the odd ones out in the crowd. Fortunately, it was night and the light was not good. Everyone was just a hazy black silhouette and couldn't see their appearance clearly. Otherwise people with bad intentions would have filmed them in the video again. Although Wang Fengfeng was tall and thin, he had a delicate appearance. Although he was not very manly, he was also good looking. but he couldn't speak because speaking would ruin his image. When it was their turn, Lin Fan was asked to go to the front and see first. After half a minute of watching, Lin Fan came down with a pout, thinking, "That's it? We've been waiting in line for hours? Isn't this a complete waste of life?" But seeing Wang Fengfeng smiling and jumping down, Wu Yusen's eyebrows and eyes were also happier than usual. When he came down, he felt that it was worth it. She felt that the small piece of sky in the camera was meaningless after she went up to see the real thing, but for most people, it is really rare to be able to observe it at such a close distance. After waiting for all the guests to leave, the staff of the observatory began to finish their work. The person in charge of observation yawned and looked into the camera, adjusted the angle a few times, looked at it casually for a few times, and turned it off. "Hey, don't you want to watch it for a while?" another staff member asked, picking up the garbage that was obviously left on the ground. No, it's too much for the donkeys in the production team to keep it open for such a long time every day. The observer wiped the area near the eyepiece with a soft cloth. "Anyway, there are no meteor showers recently, so it doesn't matter whether you watch it or not." "That's right." Another staff member nodded and answered, pressing the button to close the roof. "There are so many people coming every day. I'm exhausted." "Who said it wasn't? I have to go to work at 9 o'clock. I can still go home to take a shower and take a nap, but this big guy can't." The observer patted the telescope. "Such a precious instrument. It's not easy to break down after running for such a long time every day. Let it rest for a while." "You're right. We can take shifts, but there is only one machine." Another person yawned, "But the recent astronomy craze is always a good thing. There are more people who like it, and we can be considered as successes." "Forget it. How long can it be hot?" After a month or two, it's still deserted. The two chatted while packing up, and turned off the lights, and left after checking that all the equipment was turned off. In the distant night sky, the stars are still shining. A vague shadow gradually appeared in the darkness at the edge of the solar system. "Here they come. They are here. Man Tao, this is a real thing I experienced. That store went bankrupt before it was open for 2 years. What went wrong with the scene that was so popular at the time? It was obviously really delicious at the time. After that, I never ate such delicious and cheap steamed buns again." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.